Hey yo, what's going on? Welcome back to the Random Show episode number 77 with your host, Agostino Zinga. This is Random Show episode number 77. Siete, right? 7-7 or 7 and 7. 7-7, siete. You know what the deal. You know what the vibes. Let's bloody go. Big up everybody in the chat, hanging in there, waiting for me patiently. I do appreciate and respect every single one of you. And as a mark of my respect, I'm going to ask you nicely, only one time, to make sure you smash that like for me, all right? Cool. But now, good to be back in the hot seat again. It's been a while. I think it's been exactly 11 days, maybe even more, since I last uploaded my last random show or shared or streamed live with you guys. Need to do it more often now, especially since I'm out here with the other people, you know, in unemployed land. I probably should do this more often than not. Why not? To keep my mind off of things and to make sure that I'm having fun during this kind of interim process where I'm kind of figuring stuff out. You get me? But yeah, big up the stream chat, big up everybody in here, you know, hanging out, doing the thing, vibing, relaxing, smashing, all that good stuff. You know what we're doing. Same vibe as usual. We hang out here, we do a couple of things in terms of, you know, looking at what these comedy man them are saying, and then we run around town hanging out, doing this, doing that. Everyone enjoys themselves, and then we all go back to doing what we did prior. So nothing too crazy, nothing too major, but we got to cover a couple of big things that have happened in the whole, you know, universe surrounding some of these GRE extended universe characters that I like to have deemed it, which is quite a good name to give them, isn't it, right? Guys from the GRE extended universe, because, you know, it's essentially our, you know, weird redacted version of the flipping Kardashians, really, in a weird way. Do you know what I mean? That we care about these people that generally we don't really know, and it's all dramatic, it's all drama filled, it's all nonsense, but it is what it is. Yes, Uche, big up everybody in the chat, big up Eddie D, big up Michael, big up Brown, big up Unearth Mind, Charles, Lucas there, Graham Barber in the chat. Big up every single one of you's coming. Everyone's welcome. Join the crew. Join the bloody crew. You know what I mean? We're not wasting any time here. We're hanging about. We're vibing. We're doing the thing. Let me just load this thing a little bit so my head isn't taking up the whole length of the camera. Quick update. I actually have got a nice update. I've actually got a new phone. I've got what have I got? I think I've got a 14. Yeah, I've got an iPhone 14 Pro Max, which I got on my contract as an extension. So I was on a 2-year contract with an iPhone 12, and then luckily I was able to upgrade it to an iPhone 14 Pro Max, which is quite decent, especially when you consider how big my hands are. It's quite nice that I've got a phone that can actually fit my hands, and I'm not flipping, you know, getting all typos and stuff because my thumbs and my fingers are too big. So this flipping iPhone 14 is going to do me well. And what I might do actually now going forward with my 12 is I might actually swap out the 12 for the webcam. So when I'm doing streams or recording my podcast, I may start switching it to my iPhone and recording on that, because I guess the camera's better. So hopefully it'll look a little bit nicer. I'm still sure it's my computer anyway. It's a bit crap and it's not, you know, it's not the right thing I need to stream. But in terms of improving the image, and you know, in the meantime, while I don't have any extra lights and stuff, I might start using the iPhone 12. But I'm happy with the Pro Max. The size is decent. I think for anybody out there that has big hands like I have, if you're looking for something to use that isn't, you know, a 12 or a smaller phone, and you can afford it, then I definitely recommend you get the 12. I stuck on a case with it. I got protection for the camera. I've done all the things I didn't do with my other phone, because my other phone, I read that stuff naked. I'm still kind of on that same wavelength where I believe you should use your iPhones or your smartphones like how they're designed to be used. And I did remember reading somewhere that Steve Jobs didn't believe in phone cases. So when I was obsessed with Steve Jobs back in the day when he was alive, RIP to the great one, I would also wear my phone or use my phone without a case. So if it dropped out of my pocket, if it got scratched, if it got dented, whatever, you know, ran over by a car or a bike, it just is what it is. There was no idea of ever kind of, you know, using a case. But this time around, I've got a case on it. I've got a screen protector on the front. I've got a camera case on the flipping back as well to cover all the flipping camera itself. So I'm going really really hard and making sure that I don't mess this up and don't get this, you know, all beat up and banged up, because you got to take care of your electronics. So happy with that. That's a small life update. And what else has been happening? That's about it, really, isn't it? Nothing else crazy happening. I haven't really been going out that much. I've been kind of chilling out, you know, reading, writing, all that good stuff, working out a bunch. That's been pretty decent, and that's it. The only good thing to happen actually after the workout thing. Talking about working out, the only other thing to mention about working out. Have you guys? Have you guys seen? I'm not sure. I'm sure you've seen it wherever you live, but it seems like all the January flipping New Year's Eve resolution people have already kicked. This feels like the quickest turnover I've ever seen, because I think the first couple of weeks of Jan, my gym was crazy busy, and it's never busy. And I go all the time. So I've gone at 6 a.m. I've gone at 9. I've gone at 1. I've gone 6 p.m. I've gone 10 p.m. I've gone on all the peak times and people are there. And I never ever seen it so busy than I've seen it in the first 2 weeks of the new year. But ever since the kind of, you know, the first 2 weeks of the year, it's kind of now petered out. And like when I went yesterday, I just saw, oh wow, now all the flipping New Year's Eve people have definitely left. So there's no one around anymore. New Year's resolution people kind of, you know, kicked out, which is understandable, but it's just funny that it happens so quickly. I feel like this time, other than any other year, I feel like some people hang on until the 3rd week of the year or something, or hang on until the 4th at least, but it feels like this time around people have run out of the gym as quickly as possible, which is nicer for me, because the last thing you want when you're going into gyms is having to fight newbies for machines and equipment and stuff, and you know, it just gets a bit annoying. So that's been pretty decent to have. So I've been able to go into gyms you know, I like to be in there in and out like in an hour. I don't like mucking around or wasting time on shit. But when people are sitting around doing their nonsense and on their phone on the machines, it can drive you a bit crazy. So that's been pretty decent. So I'm happy about that. So new phone, all the New Year's Eve resolution people are out of the way. Life is good. Life is good. So let's bang on to the show. Get on talking what we need to talk about, because we've got loads of topics to run through. I don't want to waste any more of your time. So let's bloody go. First thing to talk about, random topic to kind of get on, but this is a random FYI to people out there, especially, or even someone like myself actually, right? Especially someone like myself that likes to sometimes, you know, partake in the old in the old substances. This is a good little bit of knowledge or information courtesy of this Instagram page called Pure Report Official, and they say the following. There's currently a substance in circulation that is being sold as ketamine, and unfortunately, a number of people have been hospitalized taking it. Symptoms are similar to K-hole, but the side effects have been far worse in terms of breathing and responsiveness. Various people who attended our event on Tuesday night were taken to hospital, and the people advised this has also happened a number of times in villages across London. If in doubt, please don't take it. Look after yourself and your friends. If you're at the club and you don't feel well at all times, we have paramedics and welfare zones available. Please just for help from our member, or please just ask for help from our member staff. There'll be no judgment. Absolutely crazy, isn't it? So I guess there's people out there, I don't know how they're doing it. Don't ask me how they're doing it, but I guess people are making fake ketamine, which sounds flipping scary itself. It sounds really, really scary. I can't imagine anything more scarier than somebody attempting to make fake ketamine, but I guess it exists. So if you are out there and you're a party head like I am, please be safe and, you know, careful and stuff, because clearly people are not given the smallest bit of a fuck, and they're putting the crappiest things out there in circulation, which is of course, you know, going to lead to harming people in all sorts of manner of crazy ways. I can't think of, I don't know if it's like that in the States, but in the UK, sorry, my screen keeps moving. I have to make it smaller so I can get rid of the tabs. But in the UK, the RC culture, or the research chemicals culture, isn't as big as it probably was in the past. I feel like maybe the price of drugs overall, with it being a bit cheaper than it was before, has maybe stopped people from going and buying these research chemical things as a substitute for getting the legit thing. So people would rather just, like, you know, wait to get the real thing as opposed to getting the research chemical, which has been something which I think is a good advancement in the last few years. And I know for myself, like, I can't remember the last time I did an RC. Like, it's been a long time. It was probably something I might have did when I was in maybe college or something, right? I don't take any chances on that stuff at all. I remember for a small period of time, there was people doing that whole spice thing. I'm sure you guys had it in the States, where it's basically artificial or fake version of flipping weed that people were making. I'm sure they do that. I'm sure they do that in prisons as well. People were taking a lot of that sort of stuff. I remember for a short period of time, there was rumors, I remember out and about, hearing on a party circuit, those rumors of people selling a fake alternative to cocaine. Because for the longest time, when we were coming up in the scene, if you couldn't afford coke, you would buy methadone. and that was kind of like the substitute for it because it kind of give you a similar-ish effects. Not really, but you know, whatever you kind of convince yourself in your head. And then recently I heard people saying that there's this cocaine sort of alternative that people are getting that they're selling for, you know, I don't know, 20 pound a gram or something, or 10 pound a gram, which is absolute peanuts. And loads of kids are doing it, which is absolutely crazy. I don't advise any of that sort of stuff. You know, I'm not a big fan of, you know, helium balloons either, but I would much rather, you know, have kids doing flipping balloons and all that stuff than messing around with research chemicals and taking fake ketamine and stuff. That's absolutely horrible and heinous. So if you are out there and you're a party head like me, please make sure you're careful. Please make sure you're asking people when they're taking stuff and whatnot and all that malarkey going forward, because people out there are being really reckless and kind of playing with people's lives when it comes to this sort of stuff, and it's not fair. Yeah, the 2C stuff, from what I remember, there's a Vice documentary out about it at the moment now, and from what I saw on the Vice documentary, I think they were in Colombia, I think, and from the Vice documentary, it was basically them mixing loads of stuff with colorant. So they put MDMA, they put cocaine, they put ketamine, all in one big, you know, thing, and mix it around to various degrees, and something else that's a hallucinogen, I forgot which one it is, maybe it's a ketamine, and then add colorant to it, and that's what they'd be taking out in the party scene there. But from what I remember here in the UK, 2C refers to 2CB, which is kind of a hallucinogen version of MDMA pills, basically, or ecstasy pills. That's what people take here. So when you hear 2C in the UK, it's mostly referred to a pill that's a bit smaller than an MDMA pill. It kind of looks similar to like an aspirin. But for some reason in Latin America and Central America, South America, their 2C is a white powder. Basically, they're kind of framing it as sort of like what do you call it, pink cocaine, which is flipping crazy. But I can imagine if they started doing that stuff in the UK, it would sell like hotcakes. People are into that sort of novelty nonsense, and the fact that it's got those weird effects would definitely make people interested. So I'm surprised dealers here haven't actually tried to do the whole 2C thing. Maybe it's too risky and you don't want to, you know, you don't want to get in trouble in case someone ODs on it or something, you end up going to prison. But I'm not for all that stuff at all. I'm not for it in the slightest. I think it's just a waste of time and gonna really, you know, gonna cause loads of unnecessary issues, you know, for me anyway, in general. I'm sort of something I can kind of easily play with at all in the slightest. And in general, I'm a bit of a P-word when it comes to that stuff anyway. I like my stuff legit. I like my stuff normal. I don't take any chances with that sort of stuff, you know what I mean? That's just long. Personally for me. Personally. Next on the list, I wanted to talk about here. Actually, let me get this chat down so it's in the borders, because it keeps creeping over here. Let me see. Should I make it smaller? Is it better like that? Can you still see it? Yeah, you can still see it, right? Cool. So next here, let me get that down a bit over there. Let's put it around here. Yep. Next here we got this one. Have you seen this? Bloody Billy McFarlane, the guy from flipping what's it called? Fire Festival, is back with a new event. He's launching a new party. The guy that scammed all these kids out of their money. And I didn't have a big problem with the festival itself. I know some people were annoyed by it, but the idea of like making a bespoke festival for like bougie upper class kids who have trust funds is not a bad idea. Like and essentially you're making like a VIP package festival for like the kids who can afford that sort of stuff and arrive by helicopter and whatnot. Cool, do your thing, because I'm sure there's a market for it. But you know, he absolutely scammed them, absolutely ran them riot. I'm sure we've all seen a Netflix documentary. But here's Billy McFarlane launching a new thing called Pirate, which is absolutely hilarious. And of course he's abbreviated it in the quintessential startup way with PYRT, which is absolutely hilarious. You know, and picking Super Gremlin as a name, as the theme song for it as well is actually making me laugh. I'm not going to lie. But let's actually play this. Hopefully it's not playing a Super Gremlin in the background, because that's going to get me copyright strike. Let's see what it does.
Not a festival, it's not an event, and it's definitely not a metaverse. Pirate is a technology that I've been working on for the past couple of years called the VIDR, the Virtual Immersive Decentralized Reality. So,
number one, he's presenting this thing barefooted, right? I already don't trust him. He's barefooted presenting this flipping nonsense that he's putting out. That's not an event.
I've only known Haley from one trip.
God almighty, what's happening here? Oh, is it because I scanned it up in it, right? Is that why?
Pirate is not a festival.
Yeah,
it's not an event, and it's definitely not a metaverse.
Goodness sake, this TikTok thing is annoying to use. So he's presenting the whole thing sockless, which is obviously something I wouldn't trust in the slightest personally myself, but let's continue it. Oh my God, it keeps moving. I hate TikTok. I hate TikTok. I hate it. It's such an annoying app to use, isn't it?
Pirate is
Okay, let's go again. Let's just watch the whole thing because it's getting me annoyed.
Festival. It's not an event, and it's definitely not a metaverse. Pirate is a technology that I've been working on for the past couple of years called the VIDR, the Virtual Immersive Decentralized Reality. So, what the VIDR is...
Fuck off, man. That's just acronym for give me your money, I'ma scam you. Virtual, I did what? What?
Is a technology that brings together and connects people from around the world, both virtually and physically. Then, once they're together, it allows people to actually affect real-world change.
So basically Sims with like a social media or like an altruistic charity component. That's what it is, right? He's building Sims. He's doing what people are doing in flipping, what's it call it? In Minecraft, right? Where they kind of work together and they do cool things and cool projects, but he's adding a social element to it. Nonsense. Fuck out of here.
So this all starts with Pirate partnering with a small remote destination where we will host a handful of artists, content creators, entrepreneurs. And
so it sounds like a real festival that you could also take part in the virtual reality. So if you're not there physically, you can also take part in it by an immersive technology. Maybe you put some flipping goggles on or some shit. Like, or maybe it's augmented reality that you look through your phone. Whatever it is, it's absolutely lame. And if he gets any funding, again, this is why I say I made a podcast about it topic before my main show, the X and Singer Show. Make sure to check it out on all podcasting platforms on my main channel. But I said categorically, one of the main reasons why I don't have imposter syndrome and I've never had it is because I know there are dumb people out there who are able to make a success out of themselves and in life in general, despite absolutely being categorically 2-digit IQ and ridiculously stupid. This guy went to prison for scamming people, and now he's come out and he's able to raise, if he's able to raise funding for this nonsense, you should never have imposter syndrome. I don't care if you are trying to become the area manager of Walmart, you're trying to become the head chef at a flipping, Burger King or a McDonald's. I don't care what level of job you're working in. You should never doubt yourself. If somebody like that can go into prison for fraud, for scamming people, and come out and try and raise money for a new startup or app, never doubt yourself ever in the slightest. Because if they can do it, you can do it.
Any of you guys who end up joining the Pirate crew. Alongside this location, we'll launch a live virtual replica of the island where anybody from around the world can not only watch what's happening live, but they can actually come together with their friends to affect and even own their real world adventures.
What? So what, is he partnered with Greta Thunberg then? They're working together. Him, Greta Thunberg, Ja Rule. Like, what the hell is happening here? What are we doing here?
This virtual map is a small preview of one of my favorite islands in the Exumas. But Pirate is not just about the Bahamas. We're open and actively...
He's going back to the Bahamas. He's going back to the Caribbean and disrupting these lovely people who he scammed over. Do you remember the whole Bahamas thing in FYRE Festival? I think it's Bahamas, wherever it was, the location. And he scammed that lovely Caribbean woman who was preparing a whole catering thing for the whole event. And then they canceled it last minute and she bought all the ingredients and stuff and hadn't got any of the money back. I don't know if she got actually repaid for her flipping, expenditure. But imagine, he's going back to double back again. One of my favorite islands. Who even has favorite islands? Who sits there and wonders, what's one of my favorite islands and is dotting around on the map and looking for one? What an absolute wild. I wouldn't trust this guy as much as I would trust Logan Paul.
Seeking other partnerships. So, Caribbean nations and any other adventurous location around the world, hit me up. As you guys all probably know, we're starting everything off with a global treasure hunt where we're bringing together people on a small and manageable scale. I ask you guys to please follow.
White man going to a small, predominantly black island, and the festival or the event is called Pirate. White man going to a small, predominantly black island under the banner of Pirate. You couldn't write this. You could not write this.
Pirate.vidr to see the
or you could, because it's an actual history. But hey,
technology that I've actually built and to join our Pirate crew. Apologize to my land.
Look at that horrible hand style. Look at that horrible prepubescent, almost redacted hand style. Of course, he's got a hand style like that. Of course. Look at those R's. Look at those R's. Look how pathetic the lining on those R's are. Look at the splay on the end of those R's. Look at that nonsense. This guy hasn't picked up a flipping spray can and graffitied in anger, a pencil, anything in his entire life. What an absolute square.
landlord.
Look at that nonsense. Look at that. If you're honestly, part of me, as much as I deride and I absolutely hate the stuff that Logan Paul does when it comes to scamming his fans, because I really can't, there's one thing I can't forgive when it comes to scamming, I guess because I've grown up in a flipping rough part of town, and I've been privy to the odd scam here and there, or the odd thing falling off the back of a lorry. But I think if you're in the depths of poverty legitimately and you're out there trying to hustle, I don't know, you remember back in the day a few of my friends were selling like Fire Sticks and whatnot with preloaded channels and whatnot you can watch certain things on. There was a scamming with flipping certain creams and moisturizers and makeup stuff that you'd sell to your mom, TVs. There was an Amazon, I don't know if you guys remember, but there was an Amazon scam a few years ago where people would order stuff on Amazon allegedly. You'd say it didn't arrive and then you'd get another thing sent back to you if it was under a certain amount and you'd sell that thing. There was a Beats by Dre scam. There was an there was an AirPod scam when those things first came about. There's loads of different things, but for the most part, most of these scams, especially in my neighborhood, especially in the place where I live, I go to local barbers and you have guys popping into local barbers. Like even just the other day, there was a guy in there trying to sell people North Faces. So this local crackhead went to a flipping North Face shop and decided to, do a bit of handy shoplifting, and he wanted to exchange some of the North Faces that he happened to, slide out of that shop allegedly for some cash in order for him to do what he needs to do with the stuff that he likes to do. And these things happen quite often, and these are the people who are at the lowest rung of society, right? And we're all kind of scraping and struggling and trying to figure stuff out. It makes some sense if you're trying to do that and you don't have the means to do what you need to do and you're running a little scam here and there. I get it, it's all good. But when it comes to these Logan Pauls and these type of people who have all the privileges in life, they have all the advantages given to them, why do you need to scam? I think that's again, there's no good or bad lying. Lying is lying, stealing is stealing. So even a guy selling me North Faces in a barbershop for £20, that's not a good thing. I know, I understand that. But in terms of scumbaggedness, scumbaggery, in terms of deplorable human beings, Logan Paul going and scamming his fans, people that look up to him and think he's cool and want to live in his mansion and drive his car and hang out with the kids he hangs out with and the girls that he likes and the crew he has. To scam your fans is disgusting, especially off the back of, I saw recently just now, news, courtesy of Dextera or something, that Prime, the drink he has with KSI, they're going to run an advert during the Super Bowl. Logan Paul's running an advert with Prime, which is, this big deal energy drink that he's got that's going crazy and people are reselling it for loads of money, and he's got an ad running in the Super Bowl. So clearly he's making a lot of money. There's no need to scam your fans. Similar when it goes to this Billy McFarlane kid. He's been given a second chance in life, right? He got flipping, exposed to the world to being a scam artist. He got a second chance, which most people don't get. And he got that second chance. He comes out and he wants to double down and do the scam once again. It's absolutely deranged. But part of me also thinks it might be an American thing, because it feels like Americans love redemption stories. Like I think in the UK, sometimes if you get caught for stuff that's a bit scammy and you're a little bit of a social pariah, it can be very difficult to come back again and run that scam a second, a third, a fourth, or a fifth time. But I think in America, some people have this running narrative in their head that they're the stars of their own movie, right? That Joe Rogan quote, that clip that he had, where you're the hero of your own movie, so you're gonna come back and prove everybody wrong, that you're actually good and you know what you're doing, and you want to run it back again and try to fix things. And that's what they always try to do. So instead of Billy McFarlane disappearing into the abyss somewhere and being part of some venture fund and working a normal, C-suite job and just living life and enjoying what he does and banging girls at Hampton and driving a nice flipping G-Wagon and just existing and living a comfortable life, nah, he wants to throw himself back into the fray and prove that he's absolutely a big top businessman. He can do this again, because in his head he's got that redemption story arc, that comeback, that comeback story, right? He's got that theme song that runs at the NFL playing in his head. He's like in some Under Armour advert, running in the rain, doing flipping burpees, right? He's thinking that's him in the movie. So that's why he's back again. But unfortunately, who's gonna suffer? Always the customers. Always the people that suffer are the ones at the lowest rungs, the customers who can't really do much about it. It's absolutely heinous. And then of course some of his old staff members decided to come out and basically say that, what he's running is absolute scam. This is quite funny. This is an article courtesy of Daily Mail, and it says Billy's still Billy. He's using different words but selling the same thing. Fire Festival's fraudsters former staff hit out at McFarlane launches new venture with a remote island and a slew of influencers. So former staffers who worked with the con man behind the disastrous Fire Festival, Billy McFarlane, are warning people that who might have taken in by his convinced fraudster new venture to steer well clear. So former staff that worked with him are saying, hey, this guy hasn't changed in the slightest. Be very, very wary. McFarlane announced that his new venture, Pirate, in a recent TikTok Awards in the end of the last year, describing it as a virtual, immersive, decentralized reality. Look at those words. That just screams scam. Whenever you can't understand anything, it just screams scam to me. I remember the first time I got introduced to cryptocurrency, I knew Bitcoin was a thing that would eventually end up working, and I'm still a big believer in Bitcoin. I'm still holding on to a few coins because I remember the general premise around it was just the idea of selling someone a car and how long it will take to transfer funds of a certain amount to somebody if you're buying a car, And I remember the idea behind it was like, hey, you could transfer somebody, you know, an exact amount in the hundreds and thousands to the millions by the penny in an instant via the blockchain with cryptocurrency be a Bitcoin. And it made complete sense to me in that way. I've completely understood it. And then, of course, things went where they went, you know, it meant blah, 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 but everything else after that I felt like was confusing and didn't make any sense and just screamed scam. So when I heard NFT, non-fungible token, I thought immediately scam. When you hear stuff like this, virtual, immersive, decentralized reality, scam. Like, no one can explain this to you in layman's terms for you to get it. There is no layman terms because this is a scam. Or just opportunity for Facebook to advertise more to you. Anyway, it continues. Yet despite technical language, there appears to be a striking similarity between this and his failed festival, which saw 5,000 victims defrauded out of 26 million. Imagine, honestly, imagine having 5,000 victims who you've defrauded out of a total of 26 million and still popping up your head and deciding to launch another thing with no shame. That's the thing that I think I lack. I honestly do think I lack that. That's the thing that is really stopping me from getting to the next level of my life. Not having any shame, being unable to be embarrassed, because I can, like everybody else, I'm sure, be embarrassed. I can be shamed out of things, but these people don't have any shame, don't have any capacity to be embarrassed. So they just continue the scam. They continue the grift. Although this is still in the planning stages in a new virtual event, McFarlane appears to have not learned his lesson, as he claims it will be feature a live stream of artists and creators having fun in Bahamas. It lets the former loyal staff speaking out. Let's see what the former staff said. This is one of the former staff members. What she say here? Billy's still Billy. He's using different words, but he's selling the same thing, says Su Yan Deng, a former product designer at Fire Festival. He was really good at pitching, but no technical skills. That's very true. Actually, I have to be honest. When I was working for startups, especially crappy startups, one of the things that's a real running through line with crappy startup guys who aren't really good entrepreneurs or leaders or business people is their ability to really, you know, present well. Like, they can speak amazingly well, but when it comes to operating a business day to day, keeping, you know, payroll, making sure sales are where they need to be, profits, all that sort of stuff, blah blah blah, they're completely useless. But when it comes to G'ing up the, you know, the staff and getting them excited and getting you punch in the air and thinking you're going to change the world with an app that's doing this or doing that, that's a Tinder of this, that's the Uber of this, they can do it. They're magical at it. But when it comes to actually running a business, dotting your I's and crossing your T's, them man don't have a clue. It continues. Another former FYRE media employee who was struck by the parallel between two ventures said the similarities are there around the vague, mysterious promotion, said another former employee who wished to be anonymous. Pirate appears to be exercising smoke and mirrors, buzzwords and empty promises, and have lavish trips to the Bahamas. As previous employees who have trusted Billy's leadership in the past, new customers and investors and employees should all proceed with caution. Proceed with caution. Another person said here, I was talking to somebody yesterday and they're like, you're calling to a hole, and okay, shut up. But yeah, so but also a part of me thinks at this point, if you do get scammed by someone like this, you probably deserve to lose your money. There has to be a little bit of a Friedrich Nietzsche, you know, there has to be a little bit of a Dawkins natural selection type of vibe going on if you do get scammed by these people, because they have a track record. They've shown you what they're about. You know, sometimes you should let people, you know, you should believe people when they present to present a certain face to you, and he kept presenting, you know, that he's a scam artist, so maybe you should believe him and stay as far away from him as possible, because no one likes to be scammed, and I know I don't anyway, even though I did get scammed the other day. Big up the people that get scammed. I got scammed the other day. Actually, I got scammed via some Telegram group.
Update on the fish.
Oh, damn. The less said about that, the better, actually. Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on from the Telegram scam. But that kind of hurt. I'm not going to lie. It kind of did hurt me a little bit. But we continue. So let's talk about this. I want to quickly mention this before we go into other topics, because I kind of want to run around and move the topics here and there and give you a bit of this, give you a bit of that. So I really hope this is not true. I hope this is not true. But it seems like Brendan might have lied the most egregious lie he's ever sold. And I think I've said it before on the pod, or I've said it before on the stream. Brendan's lies remind me a lot of kids that I grew up with. Like, and I used the example of the kid that always said he had all the computer consoles when we were growing up. He had the PlayStation, he had Dreamcast, he had Nintendo 64, whatever else, right? Whatever, everything else, thing, PC, he had everything at that time. And back then, of course, you know, maybe it's the same with inflation, but back then to own all the flipping consoles was a lot of money. You were basically spending 500 quid per console, which is, you know, you could easily get up to the 5K mark, especially when you factor in PCs and whatnot. And you would lie about that often, and then it got to a point where back then, of course, you couldn't play online. It did exist, but it wasn't as prominent as it is now. So a lot of the video game playing that we do before was going around each other's houses. So you bring your controller and you plug it in and you play with somebody. And I remember this kid would never let us come to his house. He would never invite us over. He'd always make an excuse. My mom's got a headache. My dad is tired. My house burned down, whatever. Just always a lie, always an excuse. Then it got to a point where we finally got invited because his mum told us to come in one day. And then we saw he didn't have any of the computers he was talking about. He just lied. But he used to lie about everything. So it wasn't only the consoles. He'd lie about the football teams he played for, girls, all these type of things. So Brendan really reminds you of that kid, because his lies are so egregious, so unnecessary. And the other thing that he reminds you about that kid is that sometimes they're unprovoked. Because I imagine, you know, you could lie a lot to somebody if you keep getting put into a corner. Like, I imagine, remember that guy, I forgot the comedian's name, I think his name is Steve Renazizi, I think that's his name. Remember that he was that comedian who lied about being in the Twin Towers when the 9/11 attack happened, right? But how he explains it, it makes a lot of sense how he lied. Because he's from New York, he used to maybe work in and around the area, and I think he was on a radio show and somebody asked him a question that kind of sounded like they asked him, hey, were you in the buildings? And in that moment, because of all the flipping outpouring of love and emotion, all that sort of stuff, right? All the outpouring of love and support, he just kind of panicked and just said the lie in that moment. And then by the time he realized it was a bad idea, the story had already kind of gained the legs of its own, and people were spreading around. The guy was in the building, he was in the building. And then slowly but surely it gets crazy. And by that time, it's too late to kind of take it back because everyone's kind of run with it. I kind of get it. But the thing that Brendan reminds me of, that friend that I kind of grew up with, was that he lies unprovoked. You don't even have to like prompt him. You don't even have to goad him or say anything. He just throw out a lie straight away. And this is one of the most egregious lies I've ever heard in my entire life. So this is courtesy of Thick Boy, his obviously channel. It's a YouTube short where he alleges he's been in DM communication with Rick Ross. Yeah, you heard this right. Brendan Schaub says Rick Ross and him talk regularly about his flipping new addiction, which is fish. You know, before it was riding bikes, bike club. Then it was what? What's the other thing he's doing? Running and stuff. Like, there's always an addiction that kind of runs through his line that doesn't really, you know, a new hobby he kind of jumps on. Now he's all about fish. And he said he had some conversation with Rick Ross about fishes and tanks and whatnot, which is absolutely incredible, because in the next video, I'll show you a clip where he might have got the entire scenario from. So either he's telling the truth about the story, or he's completely making it up because of this video he watched.
My addiction has gotten worse. Rick Ross texts me because I was talking about, yeah, how crazy is that? I can't believe that's 2023 for you. Rick Ross DM me. Sorry, I didn't text. DM me and has talking about fish tanks. I'm balls deep with fish tanks. And we posted about it. He must have saw it because he DM'd me. He just installed a $700,000 fish tank. I don't even know what that looks like. I just responded, yeah, but do you have a blue lobster with sunglasses on? Didn't DM back. Didn't DM back.
Now, for me personally, I hope he's not lying, and I hope this is not just something he made up at the figment of imagination. To be charitable to him, to be somewhat charitable to Brendan Schaub, I have a feeling he may have. Actually, let's zoom into this because his face looks so redacted here. God Almighty, looks menacing, doesn't he? Look at that. Look at that face, mate. Jesus Christos, Brendan, lay off the booze. But I've got a feeling what might have happened is Rick Ross was sharing something on his Instagram stories. Because he's verified on Instagram, your messages come up first, I think, if you're verified, right? I think so. If I'm not mistaken, your messages come up first or they come in a separate folder, but there's some sort of like notification they give you if you're verified on Instagram. I'm not verified, I don't know, where it kind of basically puts it in your face like, hey, this verified person replied. So I have a feeling Brendan was on Rick Ross's Instagram looking at his stories, and in one of the stories, Rick Ross talked about his tanks and his fishes, and Brendan replied and said something, and then maybe Rick Ross double tapped his message or said something, I don't know, something to him back, but he said in the beginning, Rick Ross text or DM me, so he's acting as if like Rick Ross is watching the Fire and the Kid and is aware that he's into fishes now, or he's on his Instagram account. It's absolutely redacted to the nth degree. But if you're wondering where that, you know, if you don't believe my end of it, where I'm saying I think he might have just replied to an Instagram story and you think he invented the whole thing as a lie, the other part of it that's absolutely hilarious is this video, where it might be an indication as to where he got the entire story from about Rick Ross having fish in the first place, because it's such a random thing to kind of talk about. So this is a video courtesy of the account called 9mag TV about Rick Ross installing a huge fish tank in one of his mansions. Let's skip ahead. Yeah, exactly. Oh, sorry. Exactly, ADD. He doesn't know who you are. Definitely Rick Ross doesn't know who he is. Definitely, 100%. But it's such an insane lie to tell. I hope it's not a lie. I hope it's just him, you know, basically adding salt to a story and trying to make it a little bit more than what it actually is. Or if it is a lie, it's him watching this video and internalizing it. Like him going online and typing in celebrities with fish tanks. The first video that comes up is Rick Ross, and he basically made that story his story. The only thing that's a bit annoying about this is there's the installation of a fish tank in your house, isn't it? No matter if you're a multi-millionaire like Rick Ross, you have all the means in the world, you still have this ugly process of getting the fish tank into your house, right? With wooden pallets stacked on top of each other, and what's something there that probably has got wheels on it that you can roll in, a crane. Like, it's just such a cumbersome and, you know, bric-a-brac ugly type of way to get your thing in it. It just doesn't look great in it. It's not the most sleekest installation ever exists, is it really? Uche, not crispy, it sounds Chris. 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 Big up my Chris, man. It doesn't sound crispy, it sounds Chris. Chris Monday morning.
I got the fish tank of my dreams coming in. It's finna go into the walls, baby. That's the bottom part. You'll be at the bottom and it'll go through the wall right here. You'll be able to see it on both sides.
In what reality would Rick Ross even know who Brendan Schaub is? Fair enough, he spoke about maybe Snoop Dogg, because Snoop Dogg is quite familiar with the UFC and he watches it and stuff, and he's into, you know, combat sports, he watches boxing. But why would Rick Ross know who flipping Brendan Schaub is? Like, honestly, like, just in a reasonable world, where would they ever cross paths? Where would it make any sense? Rick Brendan isn't even one of those white comics who kind of has a lot of black friends. He's not even one. He's not Gary Owen or something, right? He's not in that scene at all. He hangs around with who? Callen, and that's it. And BGL, RIP, and Big J. Like, who else is he hanging around with that would ever make any sense? It's absolutely incredible.
Feel me? Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Fish tank of my dreams just arrived.
Well, we don't want any weight on this list. We don't want any weight.
Right, so
hold on, put the board that way
there.
and put this way. Yeah. Don't bring it.
That tank looks absolutely beautiful, though. I'm not going to. That tank does look absolutely beautiful, but the maintenance, I'd imagine, the upkeep on making sure that thing is cleaned and, you know, in the right order, and the water's replaced, and, you know, you're not overfeeding stuff. It just must be insane. But that does look absolutely beautiful. I'm not going to lie.
And stop. Alright, now turn this. So it has to end up right here.
So as you can see by the looks of this video, he got his entire narrative of Rick Ross texting him and talking to him about fish may have come from this video. Yeah, Space Guy is true here, and a fish tank of that size has seafood restaurant vibes. Yeah, that is true. Now you said it, I can't unsee that now, and it does look like something that you see in a Benihana's or even a PF Chang's. Do you know what I mean? One of the type of restaurants. They'd be like, yeah, the fish. Actually, I saw a couple of those in Bali. They'd they think it was tasty. There'd be these places in Bali where I went ages ago, where they had these restaurants with fish tanks and they had lobsters in there, and they plucked them out and act like that was fresh from the sea. It's like, dropping a fish lobster you already bought into a fish tank and then plucking it out to make it seem like it came straight from the river is a little bit deceptive. But you know what I mean? It is what it is, isn't it? I'm a gringo. I'm gonna give you your money. I'm gonna keep it moving.
Everybody in my DMs know this is not the promised land. No, this is not the promised land. This is El Palacio. El Palacio.
Yeah, I 100% agree or believe that Brendan watched that video and legitimately thought that he could just regurgitate it and no one would know, because if I'm not mistaken, the video is from like a year ago, right? It's a year old, this video. So clearly he thought no one would ever find out that he basically watched a video of Rick Ross installing his fish tank and basically caught up to that story and made it seem like Rick Ross texted him. That's absolutely a heinous crime. I can't believe that lie. Legitimately one of the most insane Brendan Schaub lies I've ever heard in my entire life, that Rick Ross actually texted him. Like, do you understand that? Like, not even, oh, I replied back to him on DMs. No, he said Rick Ross texted him. Do you know how insane that is? Like, do you know how insane that is? Anyway, well, wherever. Moving on from that, let's talk about this. Have you guys seen Madonna's tour announcement? Madonna's going on a legit tour, legit tour, and I would actually like to see her perform. I'm not going to lie, she is a musical icon, a pop star, whatever it may be, an absolute living legend. But considering how she's been acting on social media and what she basically looks like and how she moves, I have a feeling this is going to be legitimately one of the biggest wastes of money of all time. But the sellout rate of these shows is quite astonishing, to see all these places that she's been able to sell out. Absolute legitly sell out, like for real. Not Brendan Schaub sell out, like a real sellout, as if like there's no more tickets available. And these shows are like a year in advance to see flipping what's her name, Madonna. She's coming here in London, in the UK. All London dates are sold out. Look at that, brother. All London dates are gone, all free. October 14th, 15th and 17th are all finito. It's actually funny, I've never seen that before. I've never seen a concert that takes place on a Saturday and a Sunday and then break on Monday. Usually it's a Friday and a Saturday, break Sunday, then Monday. Right? It's interesting breakup of days. But God Almighty, she's selling it out, the entire thing. And for me, I can't really understand what people are with, because I don't know. Let me rephrase that. I think if it was me and I was going to a Madonna show, I think I would know, or I would be aware that I'm not gonna see like a it's not going to be a Lady Gaga performance, right? It's not going to be somebody dancing and choreographing amazing on stage. I'm essentially going to see IRL karaoke, essentially, right? You're going there to see the icon with your own eyes, and also you're going there to kind of rejoice in the whole ambiance of other Madonna fans out there, listen to his legendary songs together. I kind of think of it the same way that Michael Jackson tour was meant to happen just before he died. I remember I bought tickets for that and I was heartbroken because I remember being in like a Tesco's when the news broke that Michael Jackson died, and I legitimately had bought 2 tickets to go and see Michael Jackson perform, and I was really looking forward to it. And of course, you know, he died just before that, but I wasn't under I was under no assumption that I was going to go there and see the Jackson of Thriller days performing on stage, because he was old, he was benzoed up and stuff, he had his health issues. That wasn't the case. I just went to see him live and perform at least. So I wonder if a lot of people are doing the same thing with Madonna. They're buying these tickets knowing full well it's probably going to be a shit show. It's probably going to be terrible. She might end up like cancelling or missing a lot of these shows that she's sold out on and not following through on whatever these promises are. Because where it's going, oh my God, these shows are going from what? What's the date? July 2023 all the way until January of next year. January the 8th of next year is the last date. She's going from the United States to Europe in October, then flying back to the United States before December and finishing the tour and ending at the last day here in LA. Absolutely wild. I can't believe anyone would willingly, yeah, exactly, Coach Kurt get a dark red, of course. Mate, at that age, how old is Madonna? Because she looks way too old for what she looks like, personally, I think. How old is she? She's 64 years old. God damn it, man. Part of me thinks it's just a work, because I think a part of me, because that lady that's in who's that black lady? She's getting loads of awards. I think her name is Cheryl something. Because they're about the same age, aren't they? Cheryl. I think Cheryl. Is that Cheryl? She's a black actress. I forgot her name. Let's see if it comes up. Cheryl, black actress. That's the one. This lady. Shirley. Is it Shirley Temple? No, she's not Shirley Temple. Not Shirley Temple. 1928 is this lady. Whoever her name. I think they're the same age. Abbott. Yeah, this lady from Abbott Elementary. What's her name? Why isn't it popping up with her name? Show me what her name is, please. Can you show me? Okay, Shirley Lee Ralph. Let's see. But I'm pretty sure Shirley Lee Ralph and Madonna are the same age. I'm pretty sure. Let me just double check this. Madonna is 1958. Let's see Shirley Lee Ralph. Cheryl Lee Ralph. There. Let's see. But I'm pretty sure they're the same age, which is pretty crazy. Let's see. Yeah, 66. They're in the same age bracket anyway. She's 66 years old. But again, I know she's black and black don't crack, blah, blah, blah. But I think she probably still got, a little, what do you think, tasteful work done here and there, whatever it may be. And, she looks flipping stunning for a lady in her 60s, right? Yeah, there's no denying that. I'm sure a few of the fellas in the chat who don't mind their sisters will probably be all up in those guts if it was available. Sorry, auntie, I know that's disrespectful to say, but that's an attractive black lady, right? You can see that. 64 years old. That's a good looking lady there. And then unfortunately, look at Madonna nowadays and you're like, God damn it, woman. Like, wagwan, if you just would have just left it alone and just did a little tuck here and there, she would look absolutely incredible. But I think it's all the extra work that's unnecessary. And she's like, if you look at her face, even on this TikTok here, she's got, even on this picture here, where she's looking kind of, she's kind of looking like a tribe from the flipping Yellowstone. She's got the reverse buccal fat, right? She's got whatever people are getting with buccal fat, where they're removing it from her cheeks, she's basically telling them to increase it, right? Fill it up. That's what she's getting for some reason. She's got a very interesting way she put her face. But again, I just think if she just would have left her face just to be the way it is and just grown old gracefully, she would have looked incredible. I still think anyway. And, and the unfortunate thing about surgery is just, when it comes to sort of stuff, it's mostly just what's the thing called? It's mostly your own issues that you're kind of working through, because I think most people don't actually care and they actually like you the way you are, but it's your own little insecurities that kind of make you get this sort of stuff, and you see yourself a certain way in the mirror, and there's nothing really anyone can tell you to kind of not do it, to be honest. Actually, I think this lady from what's her name, the one from Ozark, she'd be actually, yeah, they're saying it right, she'd be an amazing Madonna in the biopic, isn't it? Especially that era of Madonna. what's that thing called with the Like a Prayer Madonna, that era. She'd be a really good match for her, man. Really, really good. But for whatever reason, she messed it up. I can't imagine what Madonna would look like if she's flipping performing at this age that she's at now. Because again, if you've seen her move around, the videos of her dancing and stuff, she looks absolutely insane. So if you are buying a ticket to go see Madonna perform, I do pray for you and hope that she's able to follow through on her promise and go do some of the shows. If she has to get coked up to perform, let her get coked up. She has to take a couple of benzos, let her take the benzos. Whatever needs to be done to get the job done, let her do it. But I can't imagine it's going to be good. Actually, let me type that up soon and see if it's here. When's Madonna's last performance? Let's see. Madonna's last live performance. When did she last do her performance before this tour, actually? So she performed at the Grammys in 2015. That's a bit too late. And she performed when? At MTV Music Awards, did she? 2021? No way. Really? Let's check the images out. I want to see what that looks like. She performed at the MTV Music Awards. Oh shit, with what's his name? Is that Maluma on stage? Okay, cool. So she was dancing with Maluma on stage. She must have looked pretty decent here. I'm assuming. I'm not going to play it because it's definitely going to copyright strike me. So she was able to perform with flipping Maluma. So maybe the performance might be not too shabby then. Maybe I'm being a little bit too presumptuous and I'm reading into things that aren't actually there. She might actually be able to put on a good show because she looks okay from this angle, from this far away. So maybe it's going to be an absolute decent show. You never bloody know. She sat on Maluma's lap, right? He probably likes boys, so he probably didn't get a boner, which is all good because I support that community. And then here's her stepping on his non-existent boner. Here's her doing a thing. This is when she was not looking as crazy as she looks now. But yeah, I don't know. Body-wise, she looks like she's in great nick, right? She looks like she's in great nick. She can stand on her two legs. She doesn't need assistance. She doesn't need to walk with a walking stick, so she'll be fine. But dancing-wise and performing, what's she going to be doing? I don't know. But hey, let's see what she does. Let's see what she does going forward. Ticket prices are there. You know where to find them. Madonna coming to a city near you very, very soon. Next, we have to talk about this. What do you guys think about the whole thing about Beyonce performing in Dubai? What's the vibe? Personally, for me, I don't necessarily have a big issue with it, but I do understand why some people within the LGBTQ plus Q scene would be annoyed with it. My only thing I would say with this is that I think for the most part, most of us are full of shit, right? We all know we're full of shit. I think the issue is that for some reason, celebrities legitimately think that they are somehow bastions of morality or whatnot. They legitimately believe their own bullshit. So when they say Black Lives Matter and stuff, or, you know, they want to have more diversity in the industry and they don't follow through on their own volition, they don't see any issue with it. But I think what our place is as just lowly civilians, as just these small little, you know, peasants at the bottom of the ladder, what our position is in culture is to call out their hypocrisy. We should always call out their hypocrisy. So when you see somebody like a Beyonce kind of leaning on the whole LGBTQ plus thing, especially with the recent album and the, you know, and the flipping inspiration coming from voguing culture, from disco, from early house, from dance music, from that gay scene in general, queer scene, and then deciding to go to a country where essentially if you are LGBTQ plus, they'll chuck you off the nearest high building. The hypocrisy exists there. The hypocrisy does exist. I'm not going to lie. It does 100% exist. And of course, when you add the added element of the workers' rights in the UAE, it's not a good thing. But that being said, how much is your flipping, what's the price of your principles and your morals? What's the price? What's the price of your morals and principles? Because if it's me and I'm legitimately an advocate for the LGBTQ plus community people, there's no amount of money you can pay me that would ever make me do anything that would affront my community that I'm representing or that I'm advocating for. It wouldn't matter the money. And again, I'm saying this as like a lowly guy on the end of the rung, you know, struggling by drinking my cup of tea and shaking in the cold. But I legitimately think if you have principles and you have morals and you have ethics and you stand for something and you believe in something, there's nothing that anybody could offer you that could ever change your mind, ever in the slightest. But if somebody offered you $24 million to perform at a hotel for what, a couple of hours, Right? I'm assuming the entire experience might have been 3 days tops, in and out. You get flown in, you get put up in a great hotel, you get flued out back home again, all expenses paid, everything covered, and on top of that you get 24 M's wired to your bank account. And I'm pretty sure those people from that community, from that region of the earth, 24 millions isn't much. It's probably a drop in the ocean, and if you want and you pushed enough, you could probably get a lot of that in cash if you wanted. If you actually wanted to come through the customs holding wads of cash, like you're that mattress king guy walking back home and whatnot, you could legitimately get that if need be. You probably could. So that's the question. What are your morals and principles worth if somebody is willing to offer you $24 million to perform at a hotel? And this is unlike any, usually people say hotel performances are horrible, they're corporate gigs, they're crap, you don't necessarily enjoy them, you're playing in front of rich people that don't care about what you're doing, they kind of book you like a, basically, like a performing monkey type of thing. It's quite degrading in a way, even though you're getting paid loads of money, it makes you question your art. But this is spanky, this is a full performance, right? She brought all her dancers, the things, I'm pretty sure she probably paid for a lot of that stuff. So it makes you wonder, how much are your principles worth? Could you do it? Could you do it? So this is courtesy of Forbes magazine. It says Beyonce reportedly pocketed at least $24 million for private Atlantis the Royal performance. Here's where she lands her top 10 most expensive private gigs. Now, from what I've read online, I've heard the figures anywhere between 24 and 34. So there's a 10 million margin in between. 24 and 34 million. On Saturday, Beyonce headlined the launch of the ritzy Atlantis the Royal Hotel in Dubai, where the songstress is reported to have pocketed 24 million for the hour-long set, according to multiple reports, making her one of the highest earners in a lucrative world of exclusive events. And the thing about this as well, this happens a lot in celebrity culture, in just entertainment. There's a lot of offers like this that get put out of like random people hitting you up and saying, hey, can you perform at my kid's 16th birthday? And they fly you out and they pay you a big amount of money and you go home. And usually they forbid phones, so there's no record of it. It's a private event behind closed doors, kind of hush-hushy, whatever it may be. And obviously you don't want to declare it, or you don't want to kind of declare it in terms of taxes and do all that good stuff, so people kind of keep it on the hush. But this happens quite often. It's not like a one-away sort of thing. But yeah, let's read down the list. The top 10 performers of people that pay that money. Jennifer Lopez, got paid by Russian billionaire Andrei Milikovic. Is he still alive, or is he dead? I'm sure this guy's dead, right? Milichenko, isn't he dead? Is Andrei Milichenko dead, or am I bugging out? I swear he got assassinated. Did he get assassinated? No, he's okay, still alive. Thank God. Okay. My apologies to the Milichenko family and and anyone that knows him and loves him. You're not dead. You are very much alive, sir. Big up you. Keep doing what you're doing. Another one, former body armor magnate David Brooks reportedly paid Aerosmith $2.9 million to play at his daughter's bar mitzvah in 2005. To be fair, unless his daughter is... Oh, who's his daughter? I'll be a bit disappointed, innit? What age is a bar mitzvah? What age? Sorry, a bat mitzvah. What age is it? Is it 15? Is it 16? If I'm a 16-year-old in 2005, why would I care about Aerosmith? Like, get me whoever's big in 2005. I don't know, flipping Tiger or 50 Cent or something. Like, why am I... Oh, 16's a bat mitzvah. Nah, Aerosmith for a 16-year-old, or bat mitzvah's 13. Okay, anyway, 13 to 16. There's no way that I'm happy with Aerosmith. That's a crappy deal. For me personally, I wouldn't be on that. I wouldn't like that. No, thank you. As Thea Vaughan would say, I don't want that. Motorola CEO Greg Brown reportedly paid Bruno Mars $3.2 million in 20. Okay, that's a good deal. Imagine paying Bruno Mars $3.2 million to perform at your son's wedding, and imagine the son's probably some trust fund kid, super normie, regular white dude. He loved that, mate. Turning up, right? Tonight I wanna marry you. He's the one that sings that song, right? Yeah, like, oh, that would be legendary. That's a good deal. I like that. George Michael raked in a reported $4.2 million. Oh my God, I love George Michael, by the way. I'm a big fan of his. Imagine getting George Michael to perform for 4.2. Oh, amazing. In Moscow to perform in private jet in 2007. It's funny that a lot of these people are Russian, right? Russian and Middle Eastern are the ones that are splurging this cash. Beyonce played at a pre-wedding festival for Aisha Ambani the daughter of Mukesh Ambani, the 10th richest person in the world. Holy shit! What does Aisha Ambani look like? I want to see what this lady looks like. God damn it! A pre-wedding party, pre-wedding, crazy. Aisha Ambani, where they from? Oh, they're an Indian family. Rah, she looks really young here, isn't it? But yeah, big up her. And what was her net worth? No, who knows? But it's probably a lot. Big up Aisha Ambani. Let's see. Is that her official Instagram account, or is this somebody LARPing as her? That'd be a mad LARP, innit? You could probably run a pretty good scam, innit, if you decided to be the flipping princess of a flipping Indian royal family on flipping Instagram. You could run a whole heap of scams on that one, mate. Hush puppy, eat your heart out. Okay, I don't think this is actually her. This might be somebody else. It's not verified or anything either. But this is her, right? There. Living the good life, doing the damn thing. So big up Aisha. Cool. Then we've got another one here, number 5. People reported that Andrei Milichenko, who bankrolled JLo's performance in 2007, paid Christina Aguilera $6 million. Jesus, Andrei likes his pop music, innit? He got flipping JLo one time and then Christina Aguilera in 2007. That's Christina Aguilera with the flipping crop tops on, right? And the flipping jewels around the waist, isn't it? Right, dancing, right? Right? Genie in the bottle and all that sort of stuff. Oh, vibes. Another one here says unnamed patron that once allegedly paid Eagles $6 million. Okay, cool. If you're one of those older dudes, getting the Eagles to play at any event is banging. $6 million's a good probably deal as well. I wouldn't mind that. They have to split that, amongst a lot of people. Billboard reported that Celine Dion played between 2 to 3 events per year. No wonder Celine Dion's out here flipping getting dicked down by one of Tiger's friends. She is kicked up, mate. On top of her already amazing discography and whatever she gets on top of that, right, from just residual income, she plays in these countries 2 to 3 times a year. 8.5 million. Crazy. And the second one, number 2, private equity billionaire David Bonderman paid the Rolling Stones. There's a lot of old people here, and there's a lot. I'm assuming, for whatever reason, if I was balling, the first thing I'd be doing is getting people that are current, right? The Drakes and the J. Coles and the Kendricks and stuff. But all these older guys love their old rock, innit? They're flipping dad rock, they're pop stars and whatnot. The guys and girls they had probably on posters on their walls growing up. But yeah, Rolling Stones for 18.7 is a bit of a bump. I'm not going to lie. That's a little bit of a bump. Because they're probably playing for far less when they do flipping Rock in Rio or some nonsense, right? They're playing for far less than 8. I think this guy David Bonderman got fleeced. I think he got fleeced. He got scammed there. Paying 18.7 for nah, come on, man. What was their biggest hit in 2002? I don't like that. I think he got scammed. Let's see. Rolling Stones, I don't know, top hit. Is it hit song 2002? What was it? Because I'm not paying that much money for these guys. Like, what? Don't Stop. Come on, man. Get out of here. 20 million for Don't Stop. Like, nah, pass on that one. But yeah, big up Beyonce regardless. I'm not necessarily that bothered about it. I'm not going to lie. It's not something that will really bother me in the slightest. But I do understand if you are a big Beyonce fan and you think she's an advocate for you because you're from that LGBTQ plus community, it could be a bit of an affront. But let's be real. We're all full of shit, really, isn't it? We all are full of shit. And just because she goes to perform in the United Arab Emirates, I don't think it means that she's not an advocate or she's not flipping representing that community. But I also don't think you should be, you should be flipping hold. Every single decision that you do should be put through some weird prism. So you can't just do things for the sake of doing them. People are multifaceted, we're complex and whatnot. You can do one thing that seems a little bit egregious and then do one thing that's absolutely amazing. It's all well and good. It's all well and good. And also 24 M's, let's be honest. Most people would do stuff that she's doing for flipping far, far, far less. So I'm not that annoyed by it. But let me just understand what the criticism is, because this is always important to see what the other side are saying. So it's courtesy of the BBC. It says Beyonce divides fans with Dubai Atlantis royal event. Let's see what the critics are saying and why they don't like it. So it didn't need the money. That's insane. Telling somebody how much money they need is legitimately one of the most insane, almost, how do you call it? Entitled things to ever say to somebody. In some way, right? There's a hint of entitlement. There's a hint of arrogance. I don't know, presumption. whatever. It's just really gross. Counting people's pockets in that way. Don't need the money. Like, what? Anyway, music journalist Abigail Firth tells BBC News Beyonce's recent work is indebted to the LGBTQ culture, which is a bit of a stretch. She was making pop hit records or top records before she got aligned herself with the LGBT community. Let's be real. And also, they are a small minority of the overall population of the world. It's not as if she's, come on, let's relax. Anyway, this might explain why some fans are uncomfortable about her making her live return in Dubai and reportedly receiving 24 million for it. It seems like a really misguided choice from her, says Abigail. She's obviously a multi-millionaire anyway, and she didn't really need to do this. She didn't really need the money. That's probably where some of the backlash is stemming from as well. That's nonsense. That's nonsense. Who are you to tell her what money she does and doesn't need? I'd imagine upkeeping that flipping Beyonce knows house and household and managing or maintaining whatever hobbies and interests Jay-Z has isn't cheap. And even if it was cheap, carrying someone's pockets like that is absolutely gross. But the idea is someone doesn't need money is insane. It's as if saying if Beyonce walked down the street and she saw $10 on the floor, she shouldn't pick it up because she's got $10 in the bank. Huh? You pick that bad boy up, no one claims it, you pocket it, and you go grab yourself a nice little burger and some fries. That's a nonsense. It continues. Nearby Qatar was hosted the 2002 World Cup, has similar rules. It has criticised the attitude against LGBTQ people, its human rights record, and its treatment of migrant workers. Of course, that's her there and her daughter, Blue Ivy, on the stage doing the damn thing. To be fair, she didn't just, what's that word called? She didn't phone it in. She brought her whole cast of dancers, choreographers, performers with her to Dubai. I'm sure they all got paid also, but still, she went above and beyond to make this really special. It wasn't just her plugging in her flipping portable microphone and speaker system and just singing some hits in a carpeted conference room somewhere. Do you know what I mean? She actually went for it. So I'm absolutely have no issue with it whatsoever. It continues. They can face backlash, most famously from comedian Joe Liscott. Joe Licit for signing a big money deal with Qatari government. Another person says, so far criticism from the singer hasn't been as fierce. People feel a bit reluctant to give Beyonce any kind of backlash because of how appreciated she is by the LGBTQ community, but she didn't necessarily get a free pass. Let's relax, right? Because when Beyonce tickets come out and she's going on tour, all of these people are buying them in a heartbeat. They're gonna sell out in an instant. So let's just relax in that. Let's relax. Lawrence Barton, who runs a chain of gay bars in Birmingham, says that it's truly disappointing to see Beyonce performing in Dubai, but he says he wants to hear from the singer about why she chose to do the show. Beyonce is considered by the LGBTQI community as an ally, but we don't actually know whether she even considered LGBT legislation out there, and it might have even been a consideration. It might not have been a consideration, sorry. We need to hear from Beyonce herself about how she feels about the situation that our community faces over there, because she has fans all over the world who adore her. Some will be upset and some will think it's an amazing thing. For me, personally, I do think she owes them an explanation. Now, I don't think she owes, but it'd be nice to hear her explain this stuff. But then if you have to explain this, then her and Jay-Z will have to explain the whole Tiffany's ad. And Tiffany's, if you know anything about Tiffany's diamonds, you know that there are a lot of very dicey things regarding them and having blood diamonds. And for the longest time, Jay-Z and Beyonce have fronted Tiffany, have been really one of the big, people basically in their campaigns, and whole editorials and advertising has been done around them, which has been really tastefully done and really well done. But there's no denying Tiffany's has a history of, basically producing blood diamonds. So if you address something like this, you have to talk about the blood diamond stuff, and you have to go back to other things. It just becomes a bit messy. So you really can't appease everybody in this situation. The best you can do, collect the money, invest it or donate it slightly to the causes that you think basically, speak to the community that you maybe have upset, and then hope that your actions and deeds kind of rectify anything that you might have done in the past. Maybe you would imagine it, because that'd be quite a cool and almost punk thing to do, to go to the UAE, perform for these people who would throw LGBTQ plus people off of the highest building if they could, right? Especially if they're open, they'll be throwing them off of buildings left, right, and center. Go there, collect the money from those people, and invest it back into these marginalized communities. That's absolutely quite punk. That's what you would do if you were really trying to be a little bit counterculture and be a little bit of a rebel. Take the money from the overground, give it back to the underground. That's what you do. Now, is that going to likely to be happening? Probably not. that money's gonna go funding, you know, weekly visits to flipping Nobu or whatever else restaurant she goes to, and it's not gonna go anywhere else. But still, regardless, 24 M's is a lot of M's to turn down, so I completely understand where she's coming from, and I think people in wider culture kind of need to grow up. I think a little bit. They need to grow up slightly, because I don't think complaining about these things makes that much sense, in my opinion. So, what are you guys saying in the chat here? In the 80s, loads of artists chose not to play in South Africa to help end apartheid. Space Kai, definitely agree with that one. True, good point. $24 million is fuck you money. Because just to tell them fuck you. True, exactly. Wait until you find out how iPhones are made. Yes, Uche, exactly. Good point about that one. Didn't think about that. Space Kai said this is the same idea here. If you're an artist that supports LGBT, maybe don't play where you can be killed for being gay. Yeah, true. But I think at the end of it, the end point is that people are full of shit. I think we know this. We know we're full of shit, and we know we can be hypocrites. But for some reason, celebrities and people high above, you know, in terms of their social standing, they have this idea that they can do everything at the same time and not be called out for it. Like, it doesn't matter. No, I did that and I did this, and it contradicts what I did over there, but it doesn't matter. It's like, no, it does matter. It is hypocritical. It is contradictory, but you can still exist in the world. But you have to call it out and say it as you see it. But they don't like that. They want to pick and choose. They want everything at the same time. It's annoying. It'll burst your brain if you think about it too much. Anyways, moving on. So, have you guys seen Brendan Schaub's new hobby, or Brendan Schaub's new interest? It was what? Bike club, it was, I don't know, kickboxing, it was running, loads of things that he kind of suddenly jumps on and tries to become some sort of expert or use it as a way to kind of give him a personality or an interest. I don't really know. There's loads of theories out there. I think one of the theories I remember reading on the homeless cat subreddit was that people are saying that maybe he doesn't like spending time with his family, so he looks for hobbies outside of comedy that could get him to, you know, have a sort of man cave, because outside of stand-up, really, he doesn't necessarily speak about friends that he has back home he hangs out with. He doesn't necessarily go to UFC fights and stuff. So everything he does socially is, you know, or he does in kind of man time, surrounds podcasting and all that sort of stuff, which kind of explains maybe why he has so many podcasts, even though most of them are terrible, because it kind of keeps him busy and keeps him out of the house. So some people are hypothesizing that these new hobbies and interests that come out of the blue are his way to basically not hang out with his family too much. Who knows if it's true or not, because, you know, I'd imagine small kids would like fishes as well, so it doesn't really make any sense. But regardless, maybe he's just specifically staying away from the Mexican, who knows. But this is a new post I guess he uploaded on Instagram talking about his new addiction with fishes that I thought was absolutely hilarious, because he looks absolutely awful. Legitimately looks like he's been drinking for a million years, even though he's only become a habitual, you know, alcoholic in his mid-30s. But this is the video where he introduces his new hobby of being obsessed with fishes and putting them to really small and dirty tanks. Let's get it up on here. Okay, play it, get rid of it, go.
I gotta show you my fish. I'm talking all this crap about all my fish. Let me show you what I'm working with here. I just switched out the water.
Look how bad he looks, man. Look at that face. I understand, again, this could be him waking up just in that day. It could be him just waking up, because I think when we all wake up, our faces are slightly puffy. But this is the face of a guy who, number one, doesn't moisturize, and number two, is probably drinking way too much. Way too much, man. Like, way too much. And it's quite sad, to be fair. Laughing aside, the fact that he's in his mid-30s and he's suddenly developed a drinking habit is really concerning, in my opinion. Again, I'm lucky, I've always said this prior, because I grew up in the church for the majority of my life, and the first time I had the taste of alcohol touch my sweet, sweet nectar lips was when I was maybe 21 or 22 or 23, somewhere around that range. That's when I first had booze, and it was very difficult by then to start suddenly becoming an alcoholic, because I was playing sports a lot, I was playing football every weekend, I was skating and shit, I was running, so the idea of like wasting my weekends getting drunk was a bit hard to get on top, because I had such a long time not drinking. So I can't imagine how you could suddenly decide to be, after, you know, he's even got even less excuse than me, because he was a professional athlete to some level, right? Played football, went to the UFC and did all that good stuff. And then to suddenly turn and become an alcoholic in your mid-30s is a bit lame. It's probably up there with, you know, Joe Rogan becoming a pothead in his mid-40s and stuff. It's really, really R-worded. Even though I think pot is probably a way more safer substance than alcohol, maybe, depending on who you are, but Jesus, man, he looks absolutely wrecked.
Probably the 50th time in 3 days. It's a lot of work. Nobody told me it's going to be this much work, but I love them. Check it out.
Nobody told me it would be this much work. Mate, could you maybe not research stuff, please? Can you not research anything? Even with whiskey. No one told me it would be this hard with a whiskey brand. Why don't you just research it and just type into YouTube, for instance, how to set up your own whiskey brand, how difficult it may be, how hard it is. Like, come on, geezer. What's someone saying here? Damn, he's 7th grade. Aha, Uche, no, to be fair, again, I take no credit for it. This is just definitely, I put most of the credit in my parents' side of things. That was something they definitely got right. Having us, me and my brothers in church for so long, like from the ages of like 0, getting forced to go. I was forced to go to church between 0 and 18. After 18, I was basically going on my own because I enjoyed it, especially when we had like a youth church. So from 18 to 22 or 23 when I stopped going, that's when I was kind of going my own position. But we were forced to go from 0 to 18. And the thing about, you know, most of you would know about black churches is that we have flipping events or stuff going on all throughout the week. Monday to Sunday. There is no just going to church on Sunday. So we'd go to Bible study on Monday. You'd go to some prayer meeting thing on a Wednesday. There might be a concert thing or some youth study thing on Friday. There might be an event on Saturday, an event on Sunday. It's just mad. So you're in church all the time. So there is no time for you even to go out and hang out with your friends, because in the morning you're flipping having to wake up to go to church every day. So you're kind of just in this loop all the time. So my head wasn't, I can't even lie, my head wasn't even thinking about going to clubs and drinking or do whatever, because I was so engrossed in that life that was all I knew. And all my friends were there, and there was other young kids that went there also that made it a bit fun and whatnot, and whatever it may be. I remember people having like cigarettes, sneaking out of church and having a cigarette, and that was a big deal, right? So I legit think that helped me, because I have quite an addictive personality. So I know if I would have gotten booze early, I would have been a mess. But again, I feel redacted at this point. I can't imagine how redacted Brendan must feel becoming a flipping alcoholic in mid-30s. That is really loser behavior, in my opinion. I think that's beyond the pale. But probably the whole alcohol thing is probably a cover for other things that he's probably got going on. You know, not wanting to flipping, you know, be too conscious day to day because of all the stresses of life.
So those are my little juvenile Oscars. I got 2 Oscars, little juveniles. This is my pride and joy. That's a little juvenile.
Again, I'm not a real expert on fishes. I don't know nothing about fish culture or fish tank etiquette or procedure or protocol, but that tank to me looks very cloudy. You know when you're like washing your hands and loads of mud and soot comes off your hands and it kind of feels a bit cloudy, or you're washing your hair after washing it for a while and you're like, disgusting, the water looks awful. This is what this kind of looks like. Like, that doesn't look too great. And it probably must smell all types of funky in that house. It must smell crazy.
Flower horn. That's a larger Oscar. Still not fully grown. That's a Jack Dempsey, named after the historic boxer Jack Dempsey. They're supposed to have an attitude, but they don't. These are all cichlids, by the way. All these that you see are cichlids, including the flower horn. That's Big Daddy there. We call him Bumpy. My son calls him Bumpy. The names, my son named him, so be cool. That's Bumpy, clearly, because he's a giant bum.
Oh, really? I would have never guessed it. I would have never guessed that's why you call that fish Bumpy. Who would have known?
I call him Shug or Manson. That's the asshole of the tank right there. Cichlid. I gotta show you my...
Yeah, that tank looks absolutely filthy. It looks disgusting. You know, the excessive hobby it is that he's jumping on from time to time is kind of sad, to be honest. Clearly he's looking for some sort of direction, passion, or guide in life. The excessive hashtags on here is also legitimately sad, because I guess in some event it's him basically trying to be funny, but also maybe trying to be serious to kind of jump on some sort of fish algorithm. But when you're using hashtags to post these type of things in an effort to kind of gain notoriety, that's a bit horrible. I think at most you should be using one hashtag, but I think in general, no hashtags whatsoever. Decorum, you should have more pride in your work and be okay with trusting the flipping algorithm to push your stuff out there. But using these hashtags with your flipping chest is ridiculously cringe, and I can't imagine doing anything more embarrassing than this. But hey, man, let's hope it kind of works out for him, and we don't end up him, you know, disappearing and refusing to mention the fishes anymore. You know, similar to what happened with Tank, because we know what happened with Tank, innit? Like, because I've got a feeling that's gonna happen. The same thing that happened with Tank's gonna happen with these fishes. He's gonna stop mentioning it, and then he's gonna say something, and then you're gonna find out that he dumped all the fishes on the side of a freeway somewhere. Crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. But anyway, we continue, we move. So it looks like our guy BGL got gadooshed. BGL got officially gadooshed according to these screenshots taken from the Fire and the Kids subreddit, where people are basically sharing this amazing news that BGL got gadooshed. Let me put it up here on the screen so you guys can see. Can you see that? Somebody asked him, "You got fired from Fire and the Kid?" ? Brenda made a joke about firing more people. Then I realized you've not been on for weeks. He replied, "Yeah, he fired me, but another person quit." Guess he's trying to reframe that. What an absolute idiot. Who do we think quit, by the way? Who's another person that quit? I can't think of one. There's that kid who's used to be fat, who's now skinny, who was doing a fight, but I saw him recently in a clip, right? He was hanging around with Chin, so I don't think he got fired. Maybe it was the other guy that Brenda keep mentioning, who's like the head of operations or the producer, the creative director of producer Nick. Really? It's producer Nick, says Zach. Producer Nick got fired from Thick Boy. That is crazy. If I'm not mistaken, was producer Nick not one of Theo Vaughn's guys, or was he always? No, I'm not. I'm lying. Producer Nick was always Brendan Shaw's producer, but for King and the Sting, right? Because Chin only does the fight. Chin only does the Fight and the Kid stuff. He doesn't do anything else, does he? I'm pretty sure that's what he does. But I, for some reason, thought that producer Nick was Theo Vaughn's producer. For some reason, I don't think he is though. I think it's somebody else. It may be that really silent assassin, serial killer Asian guy that doesn't really talk too much, who goes to church all the time. And maybe it's that guy. But producer Nick and BGL got gadooshed. Now, I'm thinking, my theory on this is I don't think they were fired for their performance. I have a feeling they were fired to lower costs, because I was out playing other clips later on in the show. There's a clip where Brenda mentions they're going to change the scheduling for the show because it's getting shadow banned and they're not getting the right amount of views. And if you look over some of their past episodes, you can clearly see that the views have been tanking somewhat, no pun intended, since they've decided to do what they're doing now. So let's just double check anyway, because I think this is...
I gotta show you my fish. I'm talking all this crap about...
I think this would be quite handy to actually double check, but I'm pretty sure if we check the YouTube, that their views across the board have been really, really plateauing and not necessarily getting to where they're going to. And I only realized that the other day when someone posted about it on the Final Kids subreddit, because before that I didn't really buy into this whole narrative that the views are affecting stuff and things are going a bit awry. But I think overall the views are now at a point where they're underneath 100k. And if you know anything about AdSense and whatnot, you know, especially nowadays, views over 100k per video, you're not getting that much money, especially when you account for the amount of people that they hire. It's not that much. So let's go on the Fire and the Kid subreddit. Sorry, the Fire and the Kid page on YouTube here. We're going to Fire and the Kid subreddit in a minute, but let's go on the page itself. And I think if you check it, you'll see that most of the videos are definitely under 100,000. Like, yeah, just the other one the other day is only at 59,000. And I say only, my videos don't get many views, don't get me wrong, I'm not judging them in any kind of way, but judging on their own past performance, on their previous videos and where they came from, this is a big fall off, like a hell of a fall off. So if we look at the channel now, as we got it on screen, in the last few weeks, only one episode has gone over 100,000. That was the one they did with Bradley Martin, which I think was definitely a thing they did last minute as a ploy to give them a bit of a bump in terms of the views, especially with January being so flipping dry. So I think that happens. What some say, Martin Moose saying to me, you don't got to run an empire off of AdSense. Oh yeah, no, of course. But I think we're saying the same thing, Martin Moose. I think the issue they have is that I'm sure they don't make I'm sure they don't make the bulk of their money from AdSense. It's impossible. They make it more from sponsors. And if we know anything, having listened to that guy Scott Schaefer talk about that company that was giving people plots of lands in Scotland that was fake, and whatever it was called. I think he mentioned in one of the videos that they were giving out like 10 to 30 grand per ad to some people per month. So you'd be getting a 10 grand drop of reading out a flipping ad read at the beginning of your video saying it's sponsored by this particular company. So if that's the kind of range they're in, let's take a low estimate, let's say 5,000 per ad. Those are still, those will make up a lot for the stuff you don't get from AdSense, especially if you get demonetized or gets restricted. That is a lot of money. So I think what the views do is that they prove to the sponsors that you got a viewership, and then those views allow you to get a higher rate in your sponsors and your ads. And if you listen to somebody like a Joe Rogan, yes, Uche, for sure. I'm on it. I'm on that for sure. This is something like a Joe Rogan podcast. You will see ads dotted around the entire thing, and I would imagine Joe Rogan per episode must get crazy amounts of money through the ads that are coming in. So the views matter basically. So the views don't matter in AdSense. I think Martin Moose is saying that way is right, but they matter in terms of getting or negotiating better rates in terms of ads or sponsors, going on to your pod. But yeah, checking on their recent pods, except for Bradley Martin, everything's been under 100k, innit? Everything's been under 100k, everything. Looking through them again, there's a 99 here, there's a 79 with a UFC fighter, Frankie Edgar, former legend. Even the Chet Hanks one that they tried to jump on the algorithm and get a bit viral, that didn't work. Harlan Williams, wow, Harlan Williams is able to pull in 100k. Big up Harlan Williams, that's awesome to see. The reaction to Liver King got 134. The Christian comedian guy got 73. Oh, look at that, the Rick Glassman one got really high rate. 161. Big up Rick Glassman with the flipping banging. So clearly there's an issue going on there. So my theory, personally for me only, I feel like BGL and producer Nick probably got Gadoosh not because of their performance, but because they just can't afford to keep them on. And it depends because, I think there's another screenshot going around where BGL suggests that he wasn't getting paid. And he makes it seem like, he wasn't in it for the money, which is a bit, I'm not sure if I buy that. I don't understand why a grown man at his age with his addictions would be working for free. It doesn't really make any sense to me personally, but it could be possible. Another person asking him a question said, "Hey Mark, when does the NDA expire?" Asking for 180k friends. We're all ears, Papa. Are you the one causing Papa the psoriasis? Okay, cool. Sorry, Jesus Christ, I couldn't read that one. Let's go again. "Hey Mark, when does the NDA expire?" Asking for 180 friends, obviously the homeless cats. We're all ears, Papa. Are you the one causing Papa with the psoriasis? And he replies, "What does NDA mean? New details ahead?" Question mark. So clearly he's playing around and loving the attention from the homeless cats. And if it was me and I was advising anybody over there, please don't buy into or bite with this nonsense. This man's a failed actor in the biggest sense of the word. He's been trying to make it in the entertainment industry for ages and ages, and the most attention he's ever got in his entire life, especially when you think of his entertainment career, has been his association with this whole Joe Rogan extended universe type of people and Brendan Schaub and Brian Callen and stuff. So he basically needs and loves this attention. Even the stuff he does with like Bradley Martin at Zoo Culture, he does like fitnessy type skits and whatnot. They don't really garner the same reaction or the same outpouring of attention that he gets from the homeless cats and people around that. So I would say don't buy into it. I think he's trying to basically play a game, and it's probably not that serious. Like I said before, I literally think they got fired because Brendan couldn't afford to keep them on. And Brendan always does his thing, this kind of weird passive aggressive thing where he's like, "Oh, my staff members aren't working enough, they're not doing enough." So I'd imagine BGL being on his phone and basically writing flipping 17 coke-filled paragraphs, getting at people for criticizing Brendan, probably didn't fill him in any kind of confidence. He's probably thinking, "Hey, why am I paying you what I'm paying you if you're just going to be writing these snarky replies to people?" And also, there's always a possibility that Brendan woke up and thought, "You know what? You're the person that got me into trouble," because, he kind of did give Brendan the wrong advice. I think he was a handler that Brendan didn't need. In Brendan's time of need, BGL was maybe the worst person to have in his corner. And, some of the replies, some of the things he said, like, I still believe, I think some of you guys know as well, I still believe my theory is that BGL was the one who was responsible for the famous phrase, "define bullying." I honestly do think BGL was the one that gassed Brendan up to believe that define bullying would be an amazing kickback to say to flipping Bobby Lee and Kalila during that whole car crash of a podcast. If that's the case, he's a terrible handler. He gives terrible advice. His narrative is all over the place, and I wouldn't believe into it or buy into it in the slightest. Another person asked him, just read some comments here. I'm sorry to hear you're gone from TFATK. I thought you were better than they gave you credit for. Does this mean you're not part of the Thick Boy studio entirely, or just TFATK? I think this person's kind of sucking him off to get him to answer, because to say he was an important part of the show is absolutely hilarious. I have another theory. I think Brian Callen didn't like BGL, and I think Chin didn't like him. There were many occasions when BGL was on the mic trying to be funny and trying to interject, and Chin looked like he was cringing, or he looked like he was rolling his eyes in his head without rolling his eyes in his head because he knew he was on camera, or maybe his glasses are too thick. And I got the feeling that Brian Callen also thought BGL was a bit of a trial, because if you think about it, BGL is basically a roided, wig wearing Brian Callen with smaller feet, or with same size feet. Like BGL is basically Brian Callen, but a little bit younger, in that kind of wanting need to impress and to make people like him, and trying to chase fame at this old age, and not really just waking up and smelling or looking at the tea leaves and realizing it's over and just getting a regular job and living comfortably. He's still trying to chase this weird far-flung flipping media career as I don't know what he's meant to be. Again, some human lion thing. It's really bizarre, but I think Brian Callen saw a lot of himself in BGL and instantly got put off by him. Like, no, I'm not a fan of that. In the same way that Brendan didn't like Malik, because Malik was like a black Brendan Schaub, right? In that his idea of using his athleticism and his looks and all this stuff to kind of propel his comedy career, kind of being a bit of a jock in that regard. Like, I think that's where it comes from. So this idea that he was an important part of the show is absolutely crazy. Mark replied, says, what did he say? His reply, yeah, it's hard for some people to give credit where it's due. I'll be doing my own thing from now on. Yeah, cool. What, like handing out flipping steroids to fans when they bump into you in the streets and shit? This guy is flipping doing public drug deals and posting shit on social media. Absolute redneck of the highest order. Again, I don't think it's that big of a loss. Like I said previously, I still think they probably got fired because Brendan couldn't afford to keep his lease for his flipping Lamborghini truck, his Ferrari and all these other things, whilst playing BGO and other people monies just to sit on flipping Instagram and reply snarkily to flipping homeless cats. I don't think that's how it works personally. Another exchange here, again, courtesy of homeless cats with somebody. What they say to him, they said here, come on bro, it's obvious being friendly and all laughing with them now because you're not on the show. He says, seems like you're trying to control my reactions to people commenting on me getting fired. In your opinion, in need to be hostile to everyone commenting in my Instagram page, even when they're, shut up BGL, fucking wordy cunt for the sake of it, innit? Jesus Christ. Again, the other guy replies, if someone was my friend and then some guy who clearly is part of some cult that hates my friend on Reddit is commenting on my post making jokes that I'm part of it, I wouldn't reply laughing with them. But hey, I don't know what happened between you guys. Maybe you guys weren't even close. Maybe you were on the ride for money. I think he's talking about the Theo Vaughn thing, right? Because I think they're saying, or the theory out there is that Theo Vaughn and Brendan fell out because of Theo and BGL's passive aggressive beef. I think Theo said something funny about BGL. What do you call him? A chihuahua or something? I don't know what he called him. Something crazy. Something funny, something outlandish, and BGL didn't react too well to it and started to get on his bully boy thing. Oh, when he saw me in person, he didn't say that. Blah, 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 blah. And people hypothesize that maybe BGL having beef openly with flipping Theo Vaughn in the comments probably didn't sit right with Theo and might have led to Theo deciding, you know what, fuck these, fuck the diddler, fuck the rapist, fuck this guy, let me just leave. And another comment this guy made, again, I don't know why these guys do this, man. You've got money, you've got status, and you're replying to accounts with no picture in their profile. Like, just, spam accounts have been set up for purely the reason of goading you into reaction. These guys are horrible at social media. Another one, I liked you on the other show. On the show, by the way, just thought you and your brethren were bros, but hey, maybe you guys weren't, or maybe this firing made you not like him anymore. For money, ? LOL. Now that's funny. Okay, cool. So he didn't say he didn't get paid, but maybe he didn't get paid enough. And there's one thing about these flipping, when it comes to these flipping LA types or these comedian types, they never think it's enough, right? Some of these guys get on these podcast shows, they get paid a couple of grand a month to do 2 hours of work per week, and they think it's not enough. So, you know, the not enough scale for these people is very weird compared to normal people who work a regular 9 to 5. It's very, very bizarre, very hard to kind of have any sympathy for them when it comes to that sort of stuff. So who knows what's the real deal? Who knows what actually happened? Regardless of what we know happened, some good memes have come out of it. Big up again the homeless cats for putting this together. It's absolutely incredible seeing all the people who got gadooshed in recent months associated with flipping Firing the Kid and Thick Boy. You got Shrimp over here. We haven't seen since, have we? Around Brendan and stuff. I think I saw a clip of him at the show once somewhere, hanging out, trying to be part of the flipping vibe. But we haven't seen Shrimp in a while. We got the first dog that Brendan had. I forgot, this was maybe a few designs ago. This dog, I remember him talking about it. And again, it's another dog that he spoke about and then completely basically never mentioned it again. And if we're honest, also, there's another dog that he was advised not to get because he has kids. But I think the main reason, obviously, I'd imagine his wife not liking dogs, but he keeps getting dogs that are good guard dogs for the home to stop anybody coming in and stealing his dunks or stealing his wife's Birkins. But they're not exactly the best dogs to have if you have small children who are clearly, you know, Brendan Schaub's kids look like the type that, you know, they like to touch and rip stuff off walls and shit. So not the greatest vibe. And then we got Tank in the background, the recent death that happened within the Thick Boy universe, the Cane Corso. Again, I know nothing about dogs, zero. And I just typed it in on YouTube and so many videos came up from dog trainers and whatnot, basically saying that that dog is the #1 worst dog to get if you have small children. Legit. It's even bad, that kind of dog, to get if you live in a neighborhood where there's loads of strangers and shit, because it's really territorial and it will attack and rip people's faces off, even your own face. I saw one video of some guy that was training his dog and he put a hood on and he walked past the gate and he kind of, you know, same gait. Normal, usually dogs, if you got the same gait, the same kind of walking style, maybe the smell, they'll recognize you straight away if you got a hood. That Cane Corso was just like barking super loud and being really aggressive because he didn't notice the flipping hat, and then it kind of changed course afterwards. Oh,
thanks for everything you do, my man.
Big up Tyler Durden, thank you for the $10, my family. Big up, and thank you for tuning in. Thank you for you, because without you, who would I be? Malik probably. But we continue. So yeah, the Cane Corso is definitely not a good one. And then of course recently we got BGL here grimacing. This is probably one of the faces that he pulled when he was at a Tough Mudder, right? This guy went to Tough Mudder. Man, BGL, you need to flipping let your nuts hang. You were in the street. I remember there was a picture of BGL in the streets holding boxes of Diet Coke, Pepsi, or whatever Brendan drinks, boxes of Brendan for him. Another grown man walking around being another grown man's assistant. Shameless, right? He became like a 43-year-old personal assistant to a failed comedian, a failed flipping UFC guy, holding boxes of Pepsi in public. While this guy's got 2 arms and 2 legs, he can hold them himself, and you're there kind of babysitting his flipping Pepsis and making sure no one spikes them or something. And now he has the gumption to gadoosh you. You should be pissed off, man. Pissed off. He's one true friend. He's one actual friend who actually liked him the way he was. This is the thing as well. BGO went out of his way to excuse Brendan's behavior. He'll be in the comments arguing with people. No, Brendan's actually fine. You guys are idiots. And he's flipping coke-fueled rants, writing 79 flipping paragraphs defending him. And then look what happened in the end. You got Gadoosh. Go away. Nod off. Keep walking. Look at that. Look at that, mate. No loyalty in Hollywood. No loyalty. And here you were flipping berating the homeless cats and making it seem as if we were the problem, when in fact the whole time the guy that you were trying to curry up to, the one you were trying to get cozy to, who knows if this led to his divorce. I read somewhere that he got divorced recently. Who knows, being out and about with lads and going on tour and not being at home, who knows if that contributed to the flipping divorce. Maybe it did. Let's believe that narrative. Let's believe the narrative that him being out on the road all the time and touring and going to these far-flung places to go and finger bang waitresses at the back of comedy clubs may have potentially led to his divorce or his breakup from whoever he was with prior. Imagine how much you sacrificed for that guy. He sacrificed your entire career, reputation in that town. You were there before him. He was pursuing a Hollywood career before Brendan was. Look at the do your Googles of him. You'll see this guy skinny. You see him with hair, with no hair, acting in the background, standing around, looking like a a human mannequin. doing everything he can to be, you know, to make it an industry, and it hadn't worked out. And then suddenly he stumbles across Brendan. They share some affinity for weightlifting and whatever it may be, and zoo culture and Bradley Martin and lifting little Asian ladies up above their head and bench pressing them for content, right? And then look what he does. He dumps you. He leaves you by the side of the road. Come on, man. Horrendous, 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 horrendous. Let your nuts hang. Let your nuts hang, sir. He just dumped you on the side of the street like you were nothing. Come on, man. Absolutely heinous. Absolutely heinous, man. Absolutely heinous. Justice for BGL, that's what I say. Justice for flipping BGL. He did not deserve that. Justice for BGL. I mean, let me restart this chat box. I think it flipping froze. But justice for BGL. Justice for BGL. He did all that work, all of that flipping glizzy guzzling, right? Licking the glizzy off. Remember that there's that meme going around, that guy putting a glizzy on some woman's mouth and, like, you know, draining it with flipping mustard and putting it all over her tongue. That's what he was doing. Glizzy guzzling. And in the end, all for what? For nothing. You still get told to gadoosh. You get gadooshed, actually. You get left on the side of the flipping highway holding those boxes of flipping Diet Coke, hoping for somebody to flipping save you. There you are, part of the entire Heaven group. Again, big up the FYRE and subreddit for this picture. There you are, on your way to Gadoosh Heaven, mate. Following an illustrious group of people there, on your way to Gadoosh Heaven. Look at that. Gadoosh Heaven, here we come. All of those victims, innocent bystanders who are just there trying to help the guy to build his empire, and in the end, who does he care about? Himself. Right? Himself and his chombies. That's it. The only people that really get the love that they deserve. Look at Shrimp. I love the Shrimp. A little addition there. Really, really, really small Shrimp addition. Josh Wolf is there. Big up Josh Wolf. Big up Cat. We haven't heard from in a while. Right? Big up Malik. Big up flipping Human Laugh Track there in the background. Right? The Black Labrador. Sorry, the Black Golden Retriever. My bad. THEO obviously there. And of course, we've got BGL doing a damn thing. I think Kat is doing OnlyFans, isn't it, right? She's still doing OnlyFans and lying that she didn't get a flipping BBL. That was hilarious. Kat went away and I think during one time that Kat was around, she was sick or something, and she took some days off, and then she came back to the podcast looking like she had hips, and then, you know, didn't want to admit that she got a BBL. It's like, who cares if you got a BBL? Do your thing, innit? Make your money. But she didn't want to admit she got a BBL. But the BBL helped, though. It worked, because clearly she's still raking in the dollar bills on OnlyFans, so big up her. And the rest of them just moved on and did their thing. But yeah, Josh Wolf was an amazing one as one of the guests. They tried to get on there to be part of it. I forgot that black guy's name. He also moved on. If I'm not mistaken, this black guy might have a special or a tour he's doing. He's doing pretty well, this guy. He really moved on and blossoming. David Lucas is also blossoming. Even though I don't find him funny, he's doing pretty well with Kill Tony. MJ, I'm not really too sure what her deal is, to be honest. I'm not sure what MJ's deal is. I've not seen MJ in a while. She's probably doing pretty well, I'd assume also. Special K went to go, if I've got my law correct, when Special K left, is that Special K? Right? That's his K, isn't it? Special K. I think when she left, she went to go work for like a TV company, right? Like Fox or something, or network. I'm pretty sure she went to like an actual network thing. I'm pretty sure that's where she left. And I'm sure Evan the Beard was at Fox, so he just stayed, if I'm not mistaken. When they left Fox, he just stayed. He was like their inbuilt producer who they got affinity with. I think so. THEO Vaughan's obviously flourishing. Oh, we got to talk about that. THEO Vaughan's obviously is flourishing. Oh, the guy with the beard is Evan the Beard. He was an old producer when the FYRE and the Kid used to be on Fox. When FYRE and the Kid was on Fox, Evan the Beard was basically Chin. That was the old school Chin. THEO Vaughan's obviously flourishing, doing well. We're going to speak about that in a minute. Malik is doing his thing. I've seen a video of Malik and flipping Chappelle doing a skit. I'm not sure if it's new. I feel like it's new. Hopefully it is new, because when Chappelle, you know, gadoosh Malik and picked Brendan over him, that really broke my heart. Seeing two black men, you know, squabble over Brendan Schaub and seeing one ditch another for that guy was absolutely hilarious. And then in the end, Chappelle ended up leaving. He ended up kind of leaving and decided to go and do his own thing, because the toxicity levels around Brendan were probably too much, which is absolutely hilarious also. And yeah, and he's, you know, again, probably didn't offer that much. But yeah, BGL's on his way to Gadoosh Heaven. Big up BGL, on his way to Gadoosh Heaven. It couldn't have happened to a bigger redact. You deserve it all, mate, for thinking that guy was actually your friend. What naive, thinking an old man could be thinking like that. How naive an old man could be thinking like that. Moving on from that, let's speak about this, because I thought this was absolutely hilarious and maybe speaks to the idea as to why Brendan's where he is at the moment. Where is it? If I can find it. There it goes. It's over here, right? This is it. There we go. It's this picture here. Have you guys seen this? This is when you know leaving the Brendan Schaub orbit is probably good for your career. Look at Theo Vaughn. Look at Theo Vaughn. Look at this picture. So this is courtesy of Andrew Santino's Instagram account. It says mange mon cul Paris, which I guess means eat my dick or something. I think, or eat my ass. In French, I think so. Much love to KIDSUPER and Puma. So these comedians, this horde of fashionable comics, got flued out by Puma to go to Paris Fashion Week and go and do the show, I think, for KIDSUPER. And you would imagine if you're Brendan Schaub and you're the guy who purports to be into fashion, balls deep into clothes, cares about his personal appearance, is always wearing the loudest and brightest and most shiniest new shoes, and doing that whole redacted studio kicks thing with your foot looking like it's about to be amputated and curled up, and you got no moisturizer on your ankles, and you wear elasticated bottom pants and whatnot, and you sell overly badly designed, overpriced merch. You would imagine going Paris Fashion Week will be pretty high on your list of things to go to, bucket list, especially being invited out there by a brand. It'd be a pretty good flex. So for Theo Vaughn, a guy that used to wear cat t-shirts, right, who doesn't necessarily care about that kind of stuff and just cares about being silly, for him to be invited ahead of you is probably going to sting. I'd imagine so. And Andrew Santino also, even though he has a lot of stylish friends in that scene, he doesn't strike me as somebody who's overly clothes obsessed. Same thing goes for Stav, even though he's got his own style. And the same thing goes for this guy, who I forgot his name again, the guy on the right. He's the gay comic, innit? But he's also not the most stylish guy either. So if, yeah, that's his name, Matteo Lane. I would assume if you're Brendan, this would really hurt your feelings. Because none of these guys, with maybe the exception of possibly Stav, could say they're real fashion people. They're just guys that, you know, like to do comedy and like to wear some cool stuff here and there. But Brendan's always been the guy to showcase himself as the fashion guy. So to not get invited to this is horrendous, and it must feel so hard to take. But it also shows that Theo Vaughn made the right decision by deciding to distance himself from Brendan, because ever since he publicly declared that he's jumping ship and he's no longer part of King of the Sting and basically distances himself from all things Thick Boy, his life has been sunshine and rainbows, absolute sunshine and rainbows. And now he's getting flued out to Paris in a private jet on Puma's behalf. And look, I just realized this. Look at the private jet. It's got a Puma logo on the side. I just realized this looking at this picture. It's got a Puma logo on the side of the jet that's similar to a Puma Clyde. If you know what Puma Clyde is, a sneaker, you should have that assumption, but it looks like a Puma Clyde. They've colored it in that colorway, black with the white strap on the side. That's absolutely incredible. They absolutely backed out the Brinks truck, as a diddler would say back in the day. But look at these pictures. Look at them enjoying life in Paris, having an absolute blast. You know, Andrew Schulz is there also. In Gay Paris, out, you know, in front of the Eiffel Tower. Wow. I'd imagine Brendan Schaub was going to lie. I can't wait for the Brendan Schaub lie when he explains this. He's probably going to say he got invited, but he turned it down because he can't be away from his kids, right? He always says that. My kids. Yeah. Okay, cool. Sure. There's Andrew Santino in the fashion show for KIDSUPER. The clothes are awful, though, by the way. The clothes are absolutely horrendous. That KIDSUPER brand is fucking shit. But still, this is a really good look for them guys. Andrew Santino, Matteo Lane. Them hanging about, some images of them having drinks behind the scenes. You'd imagine Brendan would love to be there too, to peddle his flipping thick Tiger Boy cum whiskey stuff, but nah, they're out there drinking the actual good stuff from people that actually know what they're doing. I swear to God, as much as I'm laughing, if I'm Brendan, I think I might throw my phone out of my window. I think I might say, fuck. I mean, loudly, audibly, super angry, or just punch a wall quickly, or just get my wife in a dash choke or something, honestly. Because this would annoy me if I was him. I'm not going to lie. This would really annoy me. on the private jet, Stav and flipping Andrew Santino. It's funny because Brendan said that thing about, oh, Stav isn't one of our guys. Well, Brendan, I don't think you're one of their guys either. Andrew Santino, hasn't been seen around Brendan ever since that Brian Callen stuff went down. And then after that, when Bobby Lee stuff happened, I've not seen Andrew Santino mention Brendan Schaub. He's not been on the Fire and the Kid. The whole tour he did for his stand-up special recently, which is quite good. I watched a bit of it. I actually enjoyed it. Too tough. It's not amazing, but out of the whole group of people, he's probably the one I would I wouldn't turn off immediately. But he did a big promo run of podcasts. I think the recent one I just saw now was Your Mum's House, but he went everywhere to promote his special. He didn't go to Fire and the Kid, did he? He didn't go to Fire and the Kid. He was in LA and he didn't go to Fire and the Kid. So as much as Stav might not be one of Brendan's guy, like who? It's also clear that Brendan isn't one of these guys either. Clearly clear. Another video here, a picture of a girl that's got some boxes on that say "suck my dick." I guess you got to do when you're a flipping comedian. But I think that's absolutely hilarious. And if I'm Brendan, I'm a little bit pissed off and annoyed. I'm not gonna lie. I'd be absolutely crying into my pillow. That'd be something I'd be super annoyed by. But to be fair to Theo Vaughn, he's been vindicated ever since he did himself from Thick Boy. Things have only gone up and up for him. So who knows? Maybe there's hope for BGL still. Maybe now he's got fired. Maybe the next picture of BGL we'll see is BGL standing side by side with flipping Sylvester Stallone in flipping season 2 and 3 of Tulsa King or something. You never know. This might be the case because for some reason, whenever people get far and away from Brendan, suddenly their career goes shoo. So it might be actually a good omen for flipping what's his face for BGL, that his career might go great. But Theo's absolutely loving and enjoying life ever since he decided to go and do his own thing. So big up Theo Vaughn, big up him on the thing. And then another thing I quickly wanted to mention regarding was this pictures here, clip. Again, illustrating Theo Vaughn's come up since he decided to distance himself from the big brown redact. Look at that picture. Look at that picture. Look at that picture. That is Theo Vaughn next to Colm Delane, the head designer of KidSuper and the guy that's now leading Louis Vuitton Men's, which is terrible, but that's him. Next to J Balvin, maybe the second biggest reggaeton artist out there, maybe just underneath Bad Bunny in terms of contemporary guys. J Balvin and Theo Vaughn hanging out, fucking around, chilling, having a good time. Theo Vaughn, this is where Brendan should be. Brendan should be here. Took it to J Balvin about Jordans and about sneakers and about Gucci jackets and shit. That's where he should be. Do you think Theo Vaughn knew who J Balvin was before he got to that show? No, not a Scooby. But Brendan Schaub was married to a Mexican. He's part of flipping Latin culture in some regards, you'd imagine. I'd hope his wife is the one that played reggaeton at home. I hope his wife is not the type. Is not the kind of Mexican girl that plays Taylor Swift, right? I'm hoping she's playing flipping Bad Bunny and Maluma and all that stuff in the home, you'd imagine. But this is what happens when you separate yourself from Thick Boy. This is how your career goes. It goes sky high. Theo Vaughn rubbing shoulders with the glitterazzi of the fashion industry and having an absolutely amazing time. So big up him. Big up him. But the clothes themselves that they absolutely modeled, in my opinion, I thought were absolutely terrible. I hated everything about it. It's a brand called KidSuper, and for some reason they had Tyra Banks doing stand-up during the show, so they had these comedians come out in their different clothes and whatnot and do stand-up comedy, as you can see there from the picture. Let's quickly scan through some of the things that people were wearing so you can see what these comedians had on and shit. So you got here Tyra Banks wearing some suit with some overstitch on it. You've got, what's this guy's name? This is the guy who was accused of diddling kids as well, isn't it? What's his name? I forgot his name, this white guy. Oh, what's the fuck's his name? People in the chat, what's his name? What's this guy's name? White dude. He's accused of diddling. I don't know. I think he got accused of having a 16 or 17-year-old girlfriend. Allegedly. I'm not sure if that's true. Don't sue me. I'm just a poor young man from London. I don't know what I'm talking about. But what's his name? What's this guy's name? The guy's know in the chat? Who's this guy? Jeffrey Ross. Jeff Ross. Okay, Jeff Ross. Thank you, Koila. I appreciate you. So Jeff Ross is modeling the clothes. For me personally, if I'm going to Paris Fashion Week and I want to go see a fashion show, the last thing I want to go see is KidSuper, and the last thing I want to go see is Jeff Ross standing there lecturing me in this horrible outfit. Absolutely horrendous. But we continue. Jeff Ross is there. Who else was there? Tyra Banks again. Couldn't they get any other female comics? Where's Whitney Cummings? Where is she? Why isn't she wearing these awful high-waisted jeans and this awful jacket? Why isn't she there? Please, somebody explain this. Andrew Santino's outfit is decent, but I still hate everything about it. Horrendous, vomit-inducing. Tyra Banks again in a horrible outfit. I don't know who that lady is, but big up her. And another Tyra Banks outfit. Fucking Tyra Banks is everywhere. I don't know who this guy is, but big up him. Horrible outfit. Brendan Schaub would be here. Honestly, if I'm Brendan, I might consider doing what that what's that Cersei's son, that meme where he walks out of a window. This is like Theo Vaughn getting flipping. Theo Vaughn's outfit's probably the best one, probably, right? In terms of the outfits that he's got on. It's probably the best one, if you look at it. This is like Theo Vaughn getting invited to the Gucci show. After all the sucking and breading and licking of ass that Brendan's been doing with Gucci over the years, this is like if he got invited to that. I'd be so gutted, so pissed off. But again, this is your karma for, you know, associating with a known diddler, basically. This is what happens. More Tyra Banks, Mateo Lane in this outfit. Oh my God, KIDSUPER is so awful. This is definitely another example of white mediocrity, man. A couple of oil paintings and, you know, whatever on some clothes and shit, and now you're a designer. Like, fuck off. This is awful. This paint by numbers clothing. I'm not having it. J Balvin looking horrendous there, but still J Balvin doing his thing. Tyra Banks again. Jesus, she's in everything, innit? Stav probably looks quite cool in this outfit. I'm not gonna lie. This probably suits him really well. This tracksuit. I like this look on him. Right? Stav there looking good, looking healthy. He's probably flourishing as well since Cumtown, even though Cumtown's doing well. And the Adam Freeland show, they're obviously still shining, but he's definitely had a nice little glow up post Cumtown, so that looks really nice. Tyra Banks outfit there. This might be her best one, I think. This one might be the best Tyra Banks outfit, maybe, but I still hate it. Ooh. Is Tyra Banks funny like that anyway in stand-up? She's in everything. Schultz's outfit is awful. Maybe it's the posture here, how his shoulders are all shrunk up. I'm not liking the tash either, but I don't like this. I think he looks horrible. I think this is horrible. Maybe lose the jacket. Maybe just with the cardigan it'll look good. Maybe just lose the overcoat. But still, Schultz is there. No Brendan. He couldn't, you know, he did that thing last time with Schultz's wedding where the theory is that he flipping just, you know, and he came uninvited. He wasn't invited and he just texted Schultz, "Oh, can I come?" And he arrived. But he couldn't bum rush this. Because if it wasn't LA, he definitely would have bum rushed it, but he couldn't. Another Tyra Banks outfit. Bloody hell, she's in everything, Tyra Banks, isn't it? And there's the guy there at the end celebrating the end of his flipping performance, which is, you know, is what it is, but terrible, horrendous. I don't want any parts of it. But anyway, I think there's also a video here that I wanted to quickly check out to see, because I think Andrew Schultz spoke about it. So let's see what Andrew Schultz had to say about the thing itself, the show. This is courtesy of, what should you call it, Flagrant 2 or Flagrant Clips, where he speaks about the whole experience. Let's see how it was.
With his own show, the KIDSUPER show, where he basically... With his own show, the KIDSUPER show, where he basically has a bunch of comics wearing the clothes. It's not the traditional models, you know. There were Santino's out there, Stavros was out there, Theo Vaughn was out there.
Jeff Ross,
Mateo,
That's not a new idea, by the way. This has been happening for a long time. I forgot which one it was. I think it might have been an Adam Kimmel show, actually. Adam Kimmel, look him up. A very legendary designer who, for some reason, decided just to retire at the top of his game and hasn't been seen since in terms of that aspect of fashion. And he was doing a lot of this stuff, like having comedians be part of the show. Early com shows would have regular people in it. Alexander McQueen famously modeled in some early Comme des Garçons shows. So this is quite common. It does happen. But in recent years, the casting, maybe because of the cost of sampling clothes, has meant that they only cast models who are a particular size, because you're obviously creating things on a runway only to showcase, and not everything's going to go into production. So to make everything kind of bespoke and custom fit to fit people's different body shapes is a bit long. So you just make it as a standard kind of universal sizes so you can get them all on all the models. But it's not that big of a deal. But anyway, you know, continue.
Yvonne
Orgy, she's great. Yeah, she was great. Awesome. And
Ferry, he's a French comedian.
Ferry was a French comedian, exactly.
Yeah,
and then
Balvin.
You know, J Balvin came and did a joke.
That's
like
amazing.
Yeah, and then Tyra hosted.
Oh, sick. J Balvin did a joke. That's pretty sick. So J Balvin did comedy. That's pretty cool. Again, if you're Brendan Schaub, you'd be so pissed.
Oh shit! Yeah. I knew Tyra was there.
And then I was on the show obviously as well. And then like like doing that and like transforming.
Oh, sick. He's got those mischief, you know, whatever sneakers on, right? They did. That's pretty cool.
What one of these fashion shows can be. Like, it was by far the just most unique way of delivering the show.
Yeah.
And basically, when you look at all these other fashion shows, you're basically trying to go, what's the obstacle course for these emaciated people to walk around in?
Yeah.
That's the challenge. It's like, do they walk around in nothing? Do they walk around on water? Do they walk around in a house? Like, what is it? And he was just like, nah, we're not doing it with models. We're gonna have these comedians go up there. And
how was that?
Son, it was, put it this way. Outside of the show, the theater held like 1,300.
Which you didn't know.
I didn't know. I thought it was gonna be 50 people.
Yeah, that's what I would have thought.
Me too. So I was just like, yeah, I'm just gonna make fun of this motherfucker in front of his friends and like these high fashion people and then whatever. And then I found out the night before it's in this beautiful fucking theater. I was like, oh, I gotta like write some jokes for this shit. Like this is gonna be a real thing that I gotta succeed. We go outside of the fucking show before it starts. There's 5,000 people that are trying to get into the venue.
Oh,
the police are called. It's barricaded. There's fist fights in the street, like fashion fist fights, which is hilarious, right? Like dudes with nails and shit scratching each other. Like, it is crazy, okay? They gotta barricade the venue so people don't go in. They have to bring down those metal things that they're in front of the
closed
bodegas.
gates
to protect it.
Yo,
and the
that's
venue was like,
crazy.
we're not doing this shit.
The
They
venue said
closed
no.
it.
The venue's like, we can't hold this many people. The fire department is getting called.
But I can understand why Schulz is so excited because imagine he's performing in casinos, in dingy comedy clubs and bars where people are, you know, stuffing their faces full of chicken fingers and whiskey and beer, and he's getting shouted at by some mum who's pissed off at her husband and is taking out her anger on him because she reminds him a little bit of her husband, and these other terrible venues and maybe the odd theatre here and there. You know, the comedian slog is a bit of a slog, which is probably explaining why a lot of these guys prefer podcasting because, you know, it's easier money and also you don't have to subject yourself to the abuse of strangers when you're on stage and the unpredictability of it, and going to perform to a place where you think it's sold out and you get there and it's not sold out and you've got a whole arena full of people who have been given free tickets and shit, right? Awful crowds. To go from that to go to a fashion show in Paris, you're being flued out there, you're being taken around in Uber X's and really long body Mercedes with drivers that can't speak English but make you feel elevated and posh and pampered. People are opening doors for you. You're getting asked all these millions of questions because you're this nice, new, exotic foreign creature from America. It must feel amazing. So I'm not surprised he's absolutely giddy about this and, you know, really, really excited to explain the story because this is probably far better than going to perform at the back of some casino somewhere in the middle of nowhere in America. As much as he tries to lie and say that's obviously great, going and do those things and picking up a 10 grand check, it can be probably the most laborious and gruesome 30 minutes of your entire life. So it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
shit,
They thought
right?
the show would get canceled for a second because it was just so packed.
And then
This
you have
is
to
the
think like,
best case scenario.
no,
for him.
Yes, son.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
assuming no one gets hurt, but
okay,
yeah.
but yes, for sure. But remember, the people that you want in that show are the writers from Vogue and from Women's Wear Daily and
See, I'm not Nigerian, brother. I'm from Angola. I'm from Angola, a nice little country just above South Africa. That's where I'm from. I'm Angolan, not Nigerian. But big up my Nigerian brothers and sisters still. We're all one race under the African banner.
buyers for all these places because you want our boy to get the, you know, get the press and get this. And they're coming from another show all over. So they're showing up and it's 5,000 people outside.
Best possible thing that could ever happen
Yes.
is all those people
Yes,
can't
yes,
even
yes.
get into a show.
Yeah, that's what I'm
It's the
saying.
best
It's the best-
I told Mark
best case.
before this show even started, I was like, Mark, it would be awesome if we all went up and killed. Do you know it would be better? If this show never fucking happened.
Yeah.
Because 5,000 people tried to break into it and it was just absolute mayhem. It's
Yeah.
like, well, what is it? Why is there so much energy around KIDSUPER? They end up making the show happen. It's like an hour late, which is also fire.
Yeah.
Like,
Fashionably late.
boom.
Boom.
And
By the way, I'm John Africa. In case you're wondering, I am John Africa. Whenever he says who John Africa is, I'm John Africa. Mike Tyson, if you're confused, I am John Africa.
Tyra goes up. Tyra's fucking great. All the comics go on. It's fucking funny. It's interesting. It's different.
Bro,
Like,
Theo was killing me, bro.
Theo's
During
crazy.
like the walkthroughs, like everyone's walking around and Theo is just always Theo. It's amazing to watch it. I never really hung out with him watching him on like his pod and stuff. But he's just standing there and like they're giving the walkthrough through, and this guy looks like Yoda is like explaining what to do. He's like, okay, so you walk around this, these are like this, and then it just gets dead silent. He just goes like, so how do you even win? He's like, but do you win? Like, how do you even win the thing? And they were like, no one wins. And he's like, oh, okay, good. But he's just unbelievably funny.
Yeah, he's just fucking
You guys
great.
just walk.
Theo's got funnier since leaving Brendan Schaub. He's got richer. He's expanded his network. He's friends and smooching around with flipping J Balvin. There's a clip of Theo recently on his podcast speaking about how he may be working with the UFC. He's sitting down with the UFC to figure out some sort of idea, some sort of content piece he's going to do. Imagine if Theo Vaughn, just simple, let's just imagine a simple thing. Imagine if Theo Vaughn does like a schmo type style show where he's interviewing fighters during their fight camps or during, you know, when they're, whenever they're in the institute, that flipping performance institute, and he's interviewing them in his kind of funny Theo Vaughn way and just trying to break the ice and make some good content. Imagine how well that content will do. Theo Vaughn in a schmo type style video interviewing fighters. Imagine how well that would do. Imagine the flipping seething with jealousy that Brendan will have that Theo Vaughn has now become, you know, pally and friends with people in the UFC brass to the point where he's getting checks cut from them. They're paying him money. They're flying him out on private jets with flipping Joe Rogan to go and do fight cards. Or maybe he sits down and he does color commentary as a little joke. Imagine how cool that would be. It would be so much fun, so funny. But Brendan will be so jealous because he's already jealous anyway when Theo does that whole tweeting thing during the cards and his tweets come up on the screen. Brendan's always flipping, you know, trying to be funny about it, but clearly jealous, talking about how Theo Vaughn's sucking up to the UFC. Well, I guess it worked, didn't it? Brendan tried to suck up to Brendan. Brendan tried to suck up to Dana, sorry. And Dana reminded him, you know, we're not friends, which I'd never really understood why Brendan did that because Dana seems to be the most petty person and the most vindictive person ever. And he seems like the kind of guy, if you cross him, it's over. So the fact that Brendan tried to get back into his good graces was hilarious because he got gadooshed and he told him, you know, what's the words you said that lit up Brendan? That makes sense, right? That's it. That makes sense. And it made Brendan go into a tailspin and do video after video after video attacking flipping Dana. But yeah, big up Theo Vaughn, man. Look how much success he's got out of everything. Look at him. Shining.
Walked? Like
no, so you walk onto the stage like a traditional theater, right? You basically walk to the middle, make a right angle, walk to the front, and then you do a few minutes of stand-up.
Oh, okay.
And then after that, you get off.
What was that experience like?
You killed.
So yeah, it was fun. It was fun, but like the crazy thing was not knowing what the audience was. I was like, do these motherfuckers speak English? Are they kids super specific fans? Are they fashion fans? Like, because I wanted to make some jokes about fashion. Because when will I ever have the opportunity to do that? Like kind of specific nuance shit.
Yeah.
So,
but a too cool show typically is not good.
Typically, but that's why it was the frenzy. People got in. I think they're already more geeked because they're like, I got in.
Like they're,
so it's a hotter crowd and they're more willing to laugh because like, I'm going to enjoy this shit that much more because they couldn't get in and I could.
Yeah. So it was cool.
And there's nothing fashion people want.
This Akash is like Schultz's BGO, innit? But he does stand-up. That's probably what BGO should have done. BGO, to be useful, he should have maybe did stand-up too. Maybe he could have been in Brendan Schultz's good graces because Akash will get on his knees and give Schultzy the good glizzy guzzling, innit? God almighty, mate. He is really, he's looking at Schultzy. Do you know how you used to look at your parents when you needed money, when you were young? When you're just like looking at them like when you needed money, like, you know, you just try to give them the eyes like you're trying to be a good kid. Listen, me being a good kid. That's how Akash is looking at Schultzy. He absolutely loves him. Like, that's his man. He loves that guy. He loves him. That is pure love and adoration. Like, I agree with everything you're saying. I know exactly where you're coming from. It's like this. It's like that. He loves him. Really? Uche, okay, Akash is big in Canada. Is Akash big in Canada because they've got a lot of Indian people there? I don't know. Oh yeah, they're doing it. Isn't Thingy from India? So isn't Russell Peters from Canada? He's Canadian, right? I'm pretty sure he said there's a big Indian population in Canada. Or am I bugging out? Didn't he say that? Yeah, I'm pretty sure Russell Peters is from Canada. Maybe he's not. He's from fucking Ohio or somewhere, or Denver. But regardless, AKASH loves Schulz. So BGL should have definitely do. He should have definitely did. Oh yeah, Nav. AKASH is Nav. BGL should have definitely did stand up and basically try to be Brendan's AKASH. Yeah, be to AKASH. Yeah, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Let's play it.
Want more
Yeah.
than to be a part of the thing that nobody could get into.
Yeah.
Oh, the best. Can I read something from Vogue that they wrote on this? They wrote on like the comedians and their little bits.
Yes, read it.
They wrote about Andrew. The closing act, Andrew Schulz worked a routine around Alexander Wang that was enough to give a publicist recurring nightmares.
Oh,
So you guys heard of Alexander?
Nice, good guy. I like that. Alexander Wang content is good because if I'm not mistaken, Alexander Wang was doing a bit of salt-based sprinkling of MDMA in the drinks of unbeknowing young twinks and getting them to get lit, and then obviously, you know, taking advantage of them in a sexual manner, in an adult manner. Alexander Wang, the famed designer, who's funny because Alexander Wang is also the favorite designer of flipping Julia Fox, who's a big advocate. She's a big Amber Heard apologist. She's like, oh, Amber Heard didn't get justice, Johnny Depp is an abuser, all this social justice stuff. But then she loves wearing flipping Alexander Wang and shouting him out and giving him praise. When it's been documented, I think they settled out of court that Alexander Wang was spiking young models and scenesters drinks and twinks and whatnot, and basically doing loads of really weird, inappropriate, sexual and really horrible stuff to them, which is pretty crazy, to be honest. Adorable, like really rubs.
Hey, you got some accusations.
Yeah, so he was basically like Me Tooing dudes like crazy.
Yeah.
And it was funny, like after the show, we're at the after party, and there was a bunch of these male models came up to me, and I know they're male models because they called themselves male models, which is the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
Like you could just be like, we model.
Yeah.
You don't have to be like, we're male models.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, is that what gender?
Oh,
Hey, that's a bit of hate there. I think they look really good looking. That's why. That's a bit of male hate. Because you know what a male model looks like. You see a guy, you can tell he's a model straight away. That's a bit of hate. That's a bit of like feeling inadequate, you know. Because that's the one thing because I've only been to Paris Fashion Week once. When I went for one of the Off-White shows back in the day, I was able to get an invite from Virgil. So big up Virgil, RIP to the great. But when I went to a fashion show, I think it was like 2017. The one thing you realize when you go to a fashion week, especially Paris Fashion Week, you immediately feel ugly. Like instantly you feel ugly. I don't care how hot you are in your area, how cute your friends think you are, how much attention you get from other men or women. When you go to Paris Fashion Week, you immediately feel underdressed all the time and you feel ugly all the time, especially if you're just a regular civilian and you don't, you know, stun every single day. And I remember that being one of the occurring sort of emotions. And then, you know, after day two, you kind of get used to seeing beautiful people and people dressed amazingly after a while, and it becomes normal. But the first time you land, when you first get interacted with it, it's kind of, you know, it's kind of hard to take in all these flipping stunning people who clearly take a lot of pride in their appearance and spend a lot of money on it. And here you are sitting there like I was in a little Uniqlo t-shirt with some Levi jeans and some Air Force Ones. You're like, ugh.
Yeah. I'm a male nurse. You're like,
So you gotta let them know. You know what I mean? It could be anything.
I mean, I'm gonna add gender to everything from now on.
Are you a male comedian?
I'm a male comedian,
Yeah.
and I was doing male comedy that night. But yeah, so I was like thinking, all right, what's the joke about like Alexander Wang? And I was able to like tie some things in and like kind of, you know, whatever. We'll probably post it. Yeah. It'll be up soon, whatever. We'll get it. We'll post it. And then
oh, please do.
Just doing some other
that'll go viral again. That's gonna be awesome. Please share that. That'll be awesome to see them go viral within the little fashion community, because it's been pretty weird how he was able just to come back to fashion with little to no reprimand, really. I know there's nothing you could do retroactive as an industry, but it was documented. He legitimately spiked these guys' drinks and sexually assaulted them, right? In many, many ways. Some are really egregious ways, like really horrible stuff, like documented stuff. And he just got welcomed back like nothing happened. Crazy.
other stuff. So it was cool to do something that I thought was like a unique set just for that environment. Yeah. That I kind of never do again. Right. And it was just fun. And then at the end, I had a kind of like thoughtful moment for Colin. It was kind of cool. There was like Colin used to go to the fucking Louis Vuitton store in New York when he was a teenager, and he would sell his shirts outside to the people waiting online to get in. And then I was like, and now he sells his shirts inside.
That's fine.
And it was like, you know, it's a fucking cool little moment for a guy who's really awesome and has been supportive of us. So.
Yeah. But even if you don't care about fashion, I feel like his story and what he's done, like
to be fair, the fact that these guys love this Kid Super guy so much and his designs, in my opinion, suck balls, says a lot for why I don't like the designs. If comedians think it's good, it's probably a bad idea. Comedians love Amiri and Gucci and all that sort of gaudy stuff anyway, so they don't have the best, you know, they like fucking wearing Roots of Fight t-shirts and all this sort of nonsense, but no thank you so much. I don't want my walls to cross over. I'm very segmented and yeah, I'm very segmented and in that way. I want my fashion stuff to exist there, my sneaker stuff to exist there, my UFC stuff, my football. I don't want crossovers. I don't want my UFC fighters, you know, crossing over my footballers. I don't want any of that stuff. I just want them to live in their different buckets and I can dibble and dab when I need to, and that's it. But I don't want them to kind of cross-pollinate in any kind of way, shape or form in the slightest, personally.
Sense to where it can go into any industry. That's why I thought it was cool about it. And like
his team too. Like he's got a great group of guys. Like shout out to Photo and like he's got what they got going.
Uche, I'm glad this comment didn't come. I'm glad the chat. I had to restart the chat box. But Uche's comment is flipping wild. I have this random theory that Schultz's wife is trans, which would be wild considering how much they go in on the trans on their show. I have a trans friend that's passing and she looks really similar to his wife. I love how you just assume his wife is trans because he looks like your friend who happens to be trans, instead of maybe the wife just looking like a woman. Maybe instead of your friend maybe called, I don't know. It's just hilarious. I find it hilarious. I'm not going to be the guy that's going to try and pull up Schultz's wife on the stream because I don't think that's fair. She's not a public person. She's just, you know, linked with Schultz and they're together. But I really want to see what she looks like right now. But I don't want to be that guy pulling up these things and tearing people down. And especially when it comes to women, it's really weird when a guy sits here and starts giggling over girls, you know, and taking the piss out of what girls look like. I think it's fun to do it with guys. It's all well and good. But when I do it, the optics are a bit bad. But... What is this thing? You know what? Oh, sorry. What's I'm just thinking. What is this thing issue with the wife anyway? I think whenever I jumped on the flagrant subreddit, I did see a couple of messages here and there about people. Yeah, that's what I saw. I think I saw Red Bar talking about maybe Schultz doesn't like his wife and might get divorced or something. What's that narrative? Why are people saying those things? I don't get that impression. They seem to be madly in love, from what I can tell. They're always hanging out together. Like Schultz seems to be one of the rare comedians in that JRE extended universe who actually talks about going on dates and hanging out with his wife. Like he takes pictures of her on Instagram. They're like holding hands and, you know, have their arms around each other and clearly look like they enjoy hanging around with each other. Whereas I feel like the rest of the comedians basically use their wives as like adult babysitters. Do you know what I mean? They're basically, that's what they are. They don't actually have any kind of friendly relationship or anything. It's just business sort of thing. Like you look after the kids, I go collect the money so you can drive the G-Wagon. Whereas I feel like with hers, they look like they actually are friends and they hang out and she comes to shows and whatever it may be. I don't know. Who knows? But yeah, let's play the end of it and then we'll continue.
Going on kind of reminds me of what we got going on, man. It's it's really cool. Like even when they're putting together the show, I was like, oh, these motherfuckers don't have no clue what they're doing. They're just doing it. And I was like, yeah, that's every project we've ever done. You know, we're like, we're gonna make a special for Netflix. And then they're like, have you done this? I'm like, man, don't worry about it. We gonna figure that out. Like,
but it's just cool, like, fashion is so exclusionary and so, like, no one can get in and, like, so too cool. And what he does is, like, opens it up. Most of these fashion shows...
It's still exclusionary, my friend. Who got into that show? Did you see an invite? I didn't see an invite. Did you get an invite? I didn't get an invite. It's still exclusionary. Let's not lie and say because it was our friend, he made it open arms and everyone was walking in there. I didn't see any regular folks in there, mostly industry folks.
Shows like 100 people, he's like 1,300 people can come here. Like fashion shows are like, oh, you have to look this way and you have to be this thing and you have to be super cool. And he's like, nah, fuck it, get Stavros in here. Like it feels much more open and much more like what a shot to Stavros.
But yeah, big up them. I guess they had fun. Big up Kid Super, even though I fucking hate the clothes. But I guess if I'm Brendan, I am absolutely pissed. Like I'm the fashion guy and this is what's happening. Not on my watch. Not on my watch. But hey, it is what it is, isn't it? What can you do? That's what happens when you gadoosh everybody and you annoy people and people don't like you and stuff. It doesn't end well. It doesn't end Well, anyway, what else you got here? What else do we have here that I want to play for you? Let me quickly run through them. Be wearing me for 1 sec. Yeah, let's see this one. You see this, 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 you see this. You see this. No, let's not play that one. Let's not play that one. Let's move on. Let's do another one. Yeah, this is quite funny. So, Joe, what's his name? Louis C.K. was on, Was on JRE, which is a really good episode. I really recommend check it out. I'm pretty sure most of you have already seen it. I think the Theo Vaughn and the JRE one are probably the best Louis C.K. appearances. The Bobby Kelly one's pretty decent also. And in a wild card, again, even though I detest the guy, I think the episode he did with Bert Kreicher for 2 Bears, 1 Cave is actually pretty decent. If you can get past the clunkiness of the first 20 minutes and, you know, the fact that it feels like Louis C.K. kind of despises or pities Bert, afterwards it gets quite good. They kind of have a little bit of a connection and, you know, Louis C.K. kind of figures him out. But I'd definitely say Theo Vaughn, Louis C.K. on Theo Vaughn, Louis C.K. on JRE, Louis C.K. on Bobby Kelly, I think were really good. And then, like I said, the wild card is Bert Kreischer. But there's a really interesting little segment or story that Louis C.K. shares on here with Jerry that I'm going to play for you guys now, where he basically talks about, you know, being on a plane and having an incident. And it sounds really similar, as somebody mentioned on the Final Kids subreddit, to a story that Brendan shared about himself being on a plane. And why I think this is really funny is that in Louis C.K.'s story, in his account of things, he's not the main hero of the story. Like, whenever Brendan's lying, a good idea to kind of guess why he's lying is because he's always the most important part of the story. Like, I was going to this place and a fan came up to me and said X, Y, and Z. I was going to this place and a police officer who was a fan said this. A firefighter who was a fan said this. Some big rip guy who was a fan said this. Some hot girl said this. It's always these people who are desirable or of a somewhat high status who know who he is, giving him some sort of information or something, whatever it may be, or insight what's going on. That's basically the main framework. So that's why you can tell most of these stories are fake, because it sounds like he just walks around everywhere and gets noticed everywhere when he's just a very niche, you know, podcaster for a very small community of people. He's not that well known, I'd imagine, outside of LA, you would assume, especially when it comes to regular folks. But for some reason, it's always the main set of the story. So when Louis C.K. tells his story, and then I think it switches over to Brendan, you can see there's a similarity in it. And it makes me believe, similar to the Rick Ross story about the fish tanks, Brendan was listening to this and then internalized this story and made it his own without realizing. So sometimes I think he does it with jokes too. So sometimes I guess he copies jokes, but doesn't even realize he's copying them because he listens to it so much, he says it so much. So it's really strange. Let me just play it anyway so you can hear it. But this is Louis C.K. telling his story, and it'll be Brendan telling his story. They sound very similar.
Flying right away. And the airports were all empty. And everyone was allowed in the lounges, and everyone was getting upgraded to first class because the planes were empty. And for a while, it was part of the protocol. Before the flight takes off, they used to say they would give you the safety stuff, and then they would say you can use your seatbelt, detaches, you can use it as a weapon.
Oh, Jesus.
You can use your seat as a shield. And
they would telling you that?
Yes, they would say this is part of the thing for like the first month after 9/11, and they would say, we're here to protect you, but you have to protect us. They would say that.
Wow.
And there was one flight I took where I was flying first class, like seat 1B. I was right at the bulkhead, and this other guy sitting at one seat across from me, and the captain came out right before the flight, and he kind of squatted between us, and he said, listen, fellas, because it was a red eye. He said, you're the last line of defense, so I need you not to sleep on this flight.
You see the story we're sharing? He's still the center of the story, but he's splitting the attention and the love between him and other people. Two guys, this guy, that guy are sitting there. They say it's a story that involves other people. It's far more interesting because he's not the main character of it all. But let's see what Brenda has to say about the situation. You'll see how different the situations are, how it sounds.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I need you not to sleep on the flight to defend him.
Yeah. But of course, there's part of me that's like, I'm a guy, so I'm like, oh, yes, sir. You know,
yeah.
I was excited.
20 minutes later.
I had a little scare on the plane. I fell asleep off 4 hours, took a red eye because my son had his first football game at SoFi, so I had to make it on time.
See that first bit already? flew on a red eye to my son's football game because he had a game at SoFi. So he's already a beast of a dad, a beast of an entrepreneur, a beast of a podcaster, a beast of a stand-up. That he's doing all these things on the go, taking the last red eye to get to his son's football game, even if he's tired, if he has to take Alpha Brains and 7 shots of whiskey and espresso to the face to get there to see his son play. Immediately out the gates, he's the hero of the story. Immediately.
By 9 a.m. So I take the red eye. I fall asleep on a plane. I'm waking up. People, help! We need help. I'm like, what? I'm sitting in first class. They run up. I'm like, what the fuck? Run up. In my head, I'm like, oh, it's ISIS. Whatever they got, box cutters. Oh, I pop up. There's a guy next to me, the Hollywood guy. I'm like, get out of the way. I pop up, and then they're like, he's having a seizure. I'm like, oh, thank God. And then I sat down. Like, he goes, God, if something were to go down, I want you on the flight. I'm like, oh, I don't play that shit, dude. I ain't gonna let ISIS take over this plane with box cutters. Nah, you're gonna have more than box cutters, Bubba.
Cause you can be popping some heads.
I'm gonna be twisting necks, guys. Checks.
Twisting necks.
Yeah, I'm gonna become super viral like that moron with the hatchet. Yeah.
And the flipping similarities between the story are so hilarious. So hilarious. The similarity. The podcast drops with Rogan, again, one of the most listened podcasts I think in a while, because Rogan's been on a tear. The last couple of weeks, his guests have been like 10 out of 10. This is why I still think Joe Rogan, pound for pound for me, is the best podcast out. I know he has his issues and he annoys me sometimes too, but when it comes to consistency in guests, top tier. And Louis C.K. just the other day was an amazing one. So we all listened to it. We all saw clips of it here and there. We all heard people talking about it, and he clearly did also. But some reason, like we just said, CT, I don't know what it is. He heard the story and internalized it. Like, it's so weird. And again, that's why I think, in my opinion, again, just to give this guy some credit, I don't think he realizes he's lying. I legitimately don't think. It's maybe a little bit CT mixed in it, but I legitimately think he's one of those kind of guys who, when he hears you say something that he likes, he repeats. Like, you know, on a podcast where he does that thing where if someone tells a joke, he'll repeat the joke. I think he does that with stories in his head. He'll repeat the story and he'll just internalize it. So if he hears somebody say a story in a podcast, instead of him saying, this person said something, he'll say, my friend. Because it's just something he kept saying to himself in his head all the time. So he just assumes it came from somebody else. Or he'll make it about him. But I love how this story is all about him. It's him being in a chair. It's people screaming help as if they were asking him for help. It's him knocking the Hollywood guy who was being a beta male and a cuck and an incel sitting in his chair quivering, this Hollywood executive, because he doesn't care about Hollywood. So he's stomping over the Hollywood guy. He's getting up. He's checking what's going on because he thinks in his head he looks like a Hell's Angel because he's covered in shitty tattoos, right? And he's getting the attention of the air stewardess and he realizes, oh no, actually nothing's wrong. It's just somebody having a seizure. And he sits back down, the big bad man. And the guy he just stomped on, he just made emasculated. He then says to him, wow, man, you're really strong. If we get in trouble, you're the best guy to be here. It's like, come on. It's crazy. It's crazy how he does this. But I don't think he thinks he's lying. I think he believes what he's saying because he's said it so often in his head. But the contrast between him and Louis C.K.'s story and how they approached it and the humility that Louis C.K. has in terms of observing himself in and amongst regular folks and seeing how he acts relating to the situation, how people are reacting to it, is quite nice. It makes the story a little bit more full. It gives it color, it gives it texture, because you can imagine yourself in that kind of scenario and how preposterous it is. The flipping pilot telling you that you're the last line of defense, right? And you're sharing this flipping weird moment with this other person, as opposed to Brendan being the flipping savior. He's like flipping he's like that guy in Olympus Has Fallen, right? What's his name from 300? He's got another film out called Plane, where he's always saving the day. It's just him against everybody. It's like a fucking modern version of Die Hard. That's what he's basically is at all times. There's this guy that is the flipping hero of the fucking story at all times. It's absolutely hilarious. Oh, you gotta love the lies. The lies this guy's telling is absolutely crazy. Honestly, it's so good. It's so consistent. Like I said, it's not lies. He believes what he's saying. This is not a lie. He believes what he's saying. But yeah, another one that I thought was hilarious too is this clip where they're talking about do you remember that I think I might have it on my computer, but do you remember when Louis C.K. got cancelled and he went back and he started touring, and then somebody recorded his comeback tour when he was still working out bits and whatnot, and he hadn't been on stage for a while, and it sounded a bit clunky, but someone recorded the entire thing and uploaded it onto YouTube or something like that. Do you remember that? Happened a few years ago when he first did his first performances post being cancelled for that, you know, wanking in front of people stuff. And people were then criticizing the content because they thought it was trash and they thought it was tasteless and blah, 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 blah. But it was also a big sort of reaction with comedians at the time, because I remember Louis CK was a big sort of popular scalp of Me Too around that era, even though his issue wasn't Me Too at all, but he was one of the biggest ones. So a lot of the comedians were nervous and feeling worried about it because, you know, what he did wasn't really that bad compared to everybody else. And also the idea that he was being silenced and he couldn't do his comedy and blah, blah, blah. And a lot of comedians were getting upset that people were sharing that recording of what he did because in their eyes, it wasn't done yet, right? That's them working out bits. And it was a big deal at the time. I remember it being a big deal, comedians talking about it. Well, Joe Rogan has a very interesting take in that he's saying the people who reacted negatively to him recording that set, or maybe posted it and shared it and commented on it, he still hasn't spoken to them since then. He's fallen out with people off of the back of the Louis CK thing, which is hilarious considering what Bryan Callen, his best friend, went through and what Chris D'Elia's gone through. He's more upset that people, you know, decided to record Louis CK performing a show, first one back post cancellation, and posting it up online and judging his comedy than he is about, you know, Chris D'Elia diddling kids and getting them to tattoo themselves and, you know, Bryan Callen raping and shit. Like this is more of an egregious to him. But let's play the clip anyway.
The audience actually didn't didn't mind it, but it's not for regular consumption. It's like watching somebody practice piano and going like he sucks, or it's not, it wasn't supposed to. I think it's really bad that we don't have these barriers anymore, where there's speech that's for these few people, there's speech that we're gonna have a fun conversation where we're gonna get a little crazy. It's not for the whole world to see.
Well, what was infuriating to me was people that know that. They know what you're saying.
Yeah.
And they went after you. And I was like, you motherfucker.
Yeah.
You know, there's people that I won't talk to this day because of that.
Wow.
I was like, I'm not talking to you. Like, unless you want to make some, like, big public apology or you want to apologize to me.
Excuse me? You have to apologize to... Imagine apologizing to Joe Rogan for having the gumption to judge and to maybe criticize Louis CK. Again, this is in the heat of Me Too, when everyone's going crazy about, you know, people taking advantage of women in the workplace and unfair power balances and all this sort of stuff and lack of permission and da-da-da-da-da. He's more upset that people were criticizing getting involved in that groupthink than he is of his friends raping or his friends diddling kids. You gotta love the stand-up comedian hypocrisy. I absolutely love it. Ridiculous.
Apologize to me.
Jesus Christ.
And tell me why you did it and what real feelings of insecurity and jealousy. But like, I couldn't kneel. No kneeling. There was no kneeling going on. If I had to suck dick, I'd be in real trouble. I'd have to lie on the bed, let a dude mount my face. There was no way I'd be able to... That's the alcohol talking.
Oh. No, big up the Find the Kid community, guys. Absolutely amazing. But Brendan, honestly, Joe Rogan saying that people should apologize to him is absolutely crazy. Honestly, Joe Rogan, I love you sometimes, but God almighty. It's funny because I remember Joe Rogan speaking about the Louis CK issue ad nauseum. This is what made me really think that these guys aren't really friends, because when Louis CK got cancelled, Joe Rogan was talking about it for ages. Because obviously the real story is that he did ask these female comedians for permission. It's a kink he has that's well known. It's a, you know, a well known secret amongst people, and for whatever reason, I guess the girls regretted doing it and then went public with their story. But the way they tried to make it seem like he backed the girls into a corner and started wanking fun them wasn't true. He did ask them for permission. They said yes in the moment. They changed their mind after, which you're allowed to do. But that's what it went in. But again, comedians were so hell bent on banging on about it, talking about it all the time, which is a bit weird because, you know, let the grown man fight his own battles. But they kept going on about it, talking about Louis CK, maybe because some of them had their own skeletons, but they were talking about it ad nauseum. Then the moment his best friend Bryan Callen got cancelled and Chris D'Elia got cancelled, he shut the hell up completely, because that would get really dicey, because as most of you would understand, it's basically impossible for anybody in that community to say they didn't know about Chris's diddling, allegedly, or Bryan Callen's rapes, allegedly, if they're all meant to be friends. and they all knew about Lucy K stuff, and he's not really that friendly with that group of people. You know, he's a bit more of a higher status comedian on the totem pole and whatnot. So if they knew about Lucy K's kinks, I'm pretty sure they knew about, you know, You're My Girlfriend Now. They knew about, you know, asking girls for their ages and stuff and adding them on Snapchat. It's impossible they didn't know. So clearly, if they did try to come and defend, you know, Chris or Brian Callen, questions would be asked about, hey, what role did you play? What did you see? Where were you? Why didn't you comment on that? Why didn't you comment on that? So they had to kind of pretend that it wasn't what it was and kind of run cover. But that's when I realized these guys weren't friends, because he was going on and on about this Louis C.K. thing. But the guy he thinks he's his best friend, or he says he's known for ages, in Brian Callen, he didn't defend. He didn't have him on the show. Again, when's Brian Callen, when's he been on? Solo, on the Joe Rogan, by the way, podcast. He went on obviously with the Fight Companion with Brendan Schaub and Eddie Bravo for that one time, and it was horrible. But he hasn't been on since their solo. I don't think Joe Rogan has mentioned Chris D'Elia's name since then. He deleted Chris D'Elia's episode. It didn't get transferred over to flipping Spotify. You know, some issues, whatever. So the hypocrisy is really, really, really strong on that one. But yeah, big up that episode. I really did enjoy it. It was absolutely one of my favorites for sure. I thought they had a really good back and forth. They really come from things in different, you know, way. But I also like the fact that, for me personally, I like that you get a different Joe Rogan when he's in front of people that don't need him. Like, you know, like that kind of weird, clout thing. Like Louis C.K. is probably a little bit above, or doesn't, I don't know, it's a different kind of dynamic when it's other comedians who desperately want to be on there and get that rub, and they're willing to flip and fellatio him, you know what I mean, and do whatever needs to be done. But with Louis C.K. and stuff, the dynamic is really nice because he didn't really need to be on there. He was just kind of, you know, shooting the shit, having fun, and they're two white rich guys anyway, but they look at the world differently also, so you got that different perspective. And even the comedy talk was interesting, because usually I hate all that stuff about, you know, inside baseball talk about doing sets and touring, but I thought the way they approached that was really refreshing. Everything about it was really good. And in general, if you listen to a bit of it, but if you listen to Louis C.K. on Shane Gillis, I think he's got a series of episodes he did with Shane Gillis on whatever the podcast is called, where they talk about presidents in history, and it's kind of like it's kind of essentially like a History Hyenas type of vibe, where they're talking, you know, in a humorous way about, you know, the history of presidents of the United States, but in certain jokes here and there, but also some serious bits. And you realize that Louis C.K. is a really well-read guy. He's super intelligent, like he's really philosophical. I've always thought he's a bit of a nihilist, a little bit black-pilled, but he's not that way, actually. If anything, I would imagine him and Tim Dillon will get on pretty well. They kind of have the same sort of view in life. Maybe Tim Dillon's a little bit more celebrity obsessed in a weird way. Maybe he's a little bit more that way, but I think there's a lot of similarities I felt like with their perspectives in terms of early Tim Dillon and Louis C.K. So I'm surprised they actually didn't do a podcast together. Maybe Louis C.K. doesn't like Tim Dillon, but I thought that would be a pretty decent link up between the both of them. But I really did love it. Let's continue here. What was you gonna say? Yeah, let's move on. What are people saying in the chat? Who stand-up sucks? Why is my chat keep doing that? Why is it not? I mean, I gotta reinstall the chat again. It always freezes, isn't it? Well, hopefully it kind of comes back up again, but it always kind of jitters. Now it's stuck on that bit. Okay, there we go. See? I wonder why it does that. Interesting. But anyway, let's move. Oh, and another clip. This is a really good one. So this is Louis C.K. sitting down with Bert Kreicher. And you know what Bert Kreischer's like, right? He's always the center of his own. He's always the hero of his own movies and the center of the universe. And he proposes a really interesting and bizarre question to Louis C.K. that obviously would make the regular person say, "What?" It's an absolutely hilarious exchange. And again, like I said, I think the podcast is a bit awkward the first 20 minutes, half an hour. But after they get over there figuring each other out and Louis C.K. realizes that Bert Kreischer is just a big adult baby, he starts to, you know, be able to, you know, bounce off him a little bit well. And it's actually a really decent interview, I think. Obviously not the best one of his run, but definitely decent enough to watch.
To Minneapolis, because I'd been in this crazy thing of touring.
I remember you telling me a lot of like really kind of sage things.
I used to do arenas and stuff. All that.
You told me that.
Yeah.
You go, you're doing arenas. I said, yeah. And you go, it's for you.
Yeah, exactly. The audience is not. It's not. It's fun. Like, wow, look, I'm in an arena, but the audience is like, I can't even see him. You're walking.
Anyway, this is the wrong clip. But in this clip, he's speaking about arenas. But the other clip I'll show you again. But this is the wrong clip I was talking about. But let's watch it anyway.
To see a comedian, you shouldn't have to walk up a big cement ramp and like sit in a fucking bleach.
Oh yeah, you're right. What you call it? You're right. MKRCRVOJ. Tim Dillon was kind of kissing Louis C.K.'s butt when he had a podcast a few months ago around the time Ben Avery got the BJL treatment. Yeah, you're right. He was on that show. I didn't listen to it actually because I remember reading the subreddit and everyone was saying it was horrible. And people were saying that Tim Dillon's not a good interviewer. He's like, yeah, right. Yeah, right. I gotta watch it. Okay, cool. I'll check it out. I didn't watch the episode of Tim Dillon with Louis C.K.
Your seat holding a cup with a basketball player on it, like Duncan, like, and you're watching him really on like a TV above your head, and he's this big, and there's people talking. That's a shitty show.
Tampa. I'm going to be at the Amalie Arena February 17th.
Yeah. I think a comedian who gets an opportunity to do arenas, you should do it once. And again, it is for you. It's also a way to make a shit ton of money. You make so much that you can fly in private jets, and it's actually economical suddenly, like cheaper to fly in a jet. Because you can do more shows. You can do like 5 arenas in 5 nights. But it's insane. There's no friction. It's just life gets crazy. Yeah. You should do it once.
It's quite commendable that Louis C.K. would say that, isn't it? Because you'd imagine he's probably got theatre proposals coming at him, you know, like a flipping tsunami, right? People are offering him however many bucks they want to offer him to do those big theatre shows that, you know, Dave Chappelle and these big comedians like Kevin Hart and Fluffy do. But he chooses to do smaller clubs. He chooses to do smaller venues because obviously the feeling of, you know, listening to comedy or watching comedy in those spaces is better. I've only been to a comedy club here in the UK once. I forgot which one it was called. I think it was somewhere in Hackney. And why it was really good, and I think some comedy clubs are like this, it was in the basement and the ceiling was super low. Like to the point where if you stood up and you were, you know, my height, like 6 foot plus, you could sometimes hit your head on the roof. That's how low the ceilings were. And it really added to the flipping environment and to the flipping ambiance. It sort of made it weirdly electric. Like people would go on stage and just make a face and you'd be crying, laughing. Yeah, just how kind of electric it made it feel in that tight space. I can imagine taking that same person and put them on the stage where they're in front of a packed auditorium, right? An arena, like an O2, it suddenly, you know, the vibe, you can't necessarily create it. It's the same way, it's probably the same idea behind nightclubs. Like my favorite nightclubs that I go to, especially FOGUE that I go to around the corner from where I live in London, is the best for me because it's like a 500 to 700 cap venue. If they change the layout, it's basically 500, but my perfect amount is 500 and below. It's a nightclub. Nice big square rectangle shape of a club, the system right at the front, you know, the bar to the left, so you still got that, or to the right, to the side, so you still got that cramped feeling and people can't disperse too quickly in places, and you kind of lock the vibe in. The moment it gets bigger, like places like Printworks in London is a good example. It's a massive venue, very visually stunning. It looks incredible in pictures, but the vibe is shit. The sound is terrible because it's just big. It's too big. It's basically in a print working factory. But then, you know, take that same thing and put it into a 500 cap venue. It's amazing. So you have to give Louis C.K. credit to purposely not do the theaters and do the small clubs because, you know, this is the better experience for his fans. That goes to show that this guy is somebody that you should be following and giving a lot of attention to because he's definitely in it for the art and for the experience, even though he could be making far more money doing theater tours and taking his shirt off like Bert.
I'm doing This Is My Arena tour.
But then the next tour you should do theaters because if you're a fan, you watch the guy every time he comes to town. You know, if you're in Minneapolis, you see him come to the Acme every year, and then you go, he's at the Pantages now. That's cool. And then the State Theater, and then he plays the fucking Timberwolves Stadium.
I'm playing there,
and you go there as a fan. You go, huh. Okay, good for you, Bert. I'm happy for you. But the next year, if he's at the Timberwolves, you don't see him again there. You'll see him at the Pantages every time he comes. Yeah. Your favorite comedian. But you're not going to go see him at the fucking arena every year.
Indeed. That's very, very true. And I definitely wouldn't do it. I've done that myself with DJs. If DJs are playing big venues that I've seen them before, I just won't go. I'll just leave it to see them in smaller venues. And I can even remember a DJ, a good example, like someone like a Richie Hawtin. I saw Richie Hawtin, again, one of the biggest, most popular electronic music dance, artist out there from his history with Plastic Man. He performed at Fold one time, and that was a one-off venue because he's usually performing in places that have 5,000 plus capacity, and he performed at Fold 500, under whatever. It was definitely one of my best nights out. Seeing him play in that kind of venue. And you even see with the performers that usually perform in front of bigger crowds, and they're playing in front of smaller venues in the packed audiences, they seem to love it more because it's so tactile. You get to see the people right near you, in front of your face, like flipping, spitting in your face and whatnot. It's absolutely amazing. I absolutely love it. But this is the favorite clip of obviously the whole Joe Rogan Louis C.K. podcast. The favorite one everyone's been talking about is this really tense back and forth between Joe Rogan and Louis C.K. about cold plunges, about saunas and cold plunges, and Louis C.K. clearly doesn't agree with Joe Rogan that the key to life is having a sauna and getting into a cold plunge. And it's hilarious to me because I remember one of the things that made me laugh in the pandemic was Joe Rogan's insistence that he wasn't getting sick because he was doing kettlebell swings and he was jumping in flipping cold plunges. Like, he legitimately was holding on to that. That was his thing. Like, that's why he's not getting sick. And of course, he still got flipping COVID, even though he was taking ivermectin and all this sort of stuff. But he's got this thing in his head where he believes like exercise cures everything. If you're suffering from depression, if you're suicidal, do a couple burpees and you'll be fine. I know it works for some people, but other people, they've got their issues they have to deal with, and no amount of exercise or running 5Ks or doing Ironman is going to change it. But he's very rigid in that point of view, and now he's got this new, I wouldn't say it's a new thing, but it's a thing that he's always preaching about, saunas and cold plunges. He sees the benefits it gives to him. But the thing that really is weird about Joe is that he makes the cold plunges and the saunas, like, I think he speaks about it like it's like him conquering something, because he doesn't really have any hardships in his life. Everything is nice and easy. He thinks putting himself in a position of jumping into a cold plunge or doing the sauna for ages and it's being really hot is his way of recreating working on a flipping building site somewhere, or working in a busy kitchen, of a flipping, I don't know, Wendy's or whatever they're called, right? That's what he thinks it is, doing that kind of horrible labor, those kind of jobs. He's recreating it with a sauna and a cold, which is absolutely redacted in the highest degree. But when you're rich and you're out of touch and you're a little bit in the clouds, you can maybe have those kind of points of view. And Louis C.K. clearly doesn't agree with him. I think this exchange was absolutely incredible. Yes, Yoshi, big up Yoshi.
Have these long conversations about what's the right way to think and what's the right way to live, and all these many boutique things of here's how to feel better.
Yeah.
Because we're just kind of sitting around. We're just consumers. We're just consumers of the rest of the world. So
I was watching this video where these guys were talking about Lex Fried.
Let's quick stop. Look, you know what, Uche, I can't accept that. I think Huberman, is the one that I allow, because Huberman to me is like the male version. Who's that female scientist that comes on Joe Rogan a lot? She kind of looks like a cute bunny rabbit. What's her name? She's really good in terms of science and medical and human optimization, all that kind of stuff. She's really awesome. I think Huberman's the same thing. He comes at it from a very scientific point of view, almost autistic point of view. He's got a little bit of autism there in his detail, and it's also very practical, the stuff that he gives people. It's never things that are really highfalutin or only, that's it, Rhonda Patrick, that's it. Huberman reminds me a lot of Rhonda Patrick in his ability. He's not pseudoscience, he's not woo-woo, he's not Aubrey, that's Aubrey Marcus, not Kreicher. No. Aubrey Marcus is woo-woo. He's the guy that's telling you to hug your wife and do tantric sex and stuff and get healed by the sun, all that sort of nonsense. No, not that guy. Huberman's more so scientific and methodical in his approach, and the things that he gives out advice are, I guess, a lot more relatable and easy to digest. Like, I got a lot of learnings from his little things he did on drugs and alcohol and how that affects you. I got a lot of learnings from his stuff he did about sleep. I learned a lot from that. But I don't think he's too far in the clouds, which has been really nice. And I hope he doesn't, lose that, because that's the one thing that I like about him. He is kind of grounded. He doesn't, enjoy the smell of his own farts, and he gets experts in and shit. I don't know. I like him. I'm a fan of him. But I understand what you mean, but I like Huberman. I actually enjoy his content a lot. So I hope he doesn't, go the path of Jordan Peterson and stuff, or Bert, or Brett Weinstein. I mean, hopefully he just settles down and he's okay how he is. Hopefully.
Been in Andrew Huberman, we're talking about saunas and cold plunges and stuff like that, and like the benefits of it. They're two scientists.
Yeah.
They're talking about the provable benefits, heat shock proteins, cold shock proteins. And then I'm reading the comments where some guy was like, yeah, well, you guys aren't talking about is how much it costs to buy a sauna. You're making it seem like it's all free. And like what is...
What is true, though? Joe Rogan can't understand the play. This is the thing that I really want to stress as well. One of Joe Rogan's superpowers and one of the things I liked about him always has been his ability to seem somewhat like a regular dude, even though he's been a multi-millionaire for more than 2 decades. For the majority of, he's been richer than he's been richer longer than he's been poorer in his life, right? I know he grew up kind of middle class and regular, but he's been richer for way longer in his life than he's been poor. But I always admired his ability to seem somewhat normal and chill, like the chill rich guy, right? Similar to Elon Musk in the beginning. Elon Musk in the beginning was the somewhat chill and cool, smart dude. Then he started to get too much attention on social media, started to enjoy it, and he went a bit crazy, and now he's doing whatever he's doing. But Joe Rogan always maintained the ability to be somewhat normal, even though he's a multi-millionaire, even before Spotify. Probably now with Spotify, he might be approaching billionaire status, but he's always remained that way. But one thing I've noticed about Joe Rogan over the years is that he's become way more removed from reality, way more wrapped up in his own world and unable to relate to the common man, really and truly. Like at his core, he's unable to relate to the common man. Like I guess if you ask him about the price of milk, he'd have no idea what it is. The price of eggs, no idea what it is. How difficult it, he'd probably be telling you to get a Tesla even though you can't afford to buy a petrol, guzzling car, like all these kind of things. He doesn't understand the concept that, maybe 30k for a Tesla is still 30k that somebody doesn't have. You know what I mean? So the idea of going out and buying a cold plunge and putting it in your garden that you don't have, if you live in apartment blocks, where you put in that cold plunge, where you put in that sauna, how much does it cost you to go to his place? He doesn't factor it into a regular person's wage. And I think he says the same thing about office people. He's got this real axe to grind against people that work 9 to 5 in offices, because I guess maybe he had a bad experience himself, but he thinks everybody could just get up tomorrow and start their business and quit their jobs. He doesn't understand the concept that some people maybe enjoy their jobs, some people may have obligations that don't allow them to pursue their quote-unquote passion. Some people can't just start making knives and selling those on Etsy. It's a thing that he doesn't really wrap his head around too much. And again, it's okay because he's a guy in his 50s and he spent a large chunk of his career being rich, but he doesn't have that ability to comprehend that the regular person is just literally trying to survive day by day, trying to make sure they've got enough food on the plate to eat, trying to make sure they've got enough electricity to kind of keep them warm and keep the lights on and pay the Wi-Fi bill, whatever it may be. The concept of going out and buying a cold plunge to sit in and to reset yourself and whatnot, and heat shock proteins and shit is way over there. Do you know what I mean? But he doesn't get it for some reason. It's the only thing that's a bit disappointing about him.
What are you supposed to do? Like every fucking thing? Like, I'm sorry if you're broke.
Oh no, you have the conversation for people that can live that way.
Well, I mean, not just.
But it's just fun.
It's not it's not impossible to achieve. We're not talking about buying a fucking Lamborghini.
Yeah, but I'm not
comparing. For regular people, buying a cold plunge or a sauna and putting it in your garden and maintaining it is equivalent to buying a Lamborghini. I'm sorry, but it is. If you're surviving as a receptionist working for a flipping marketing firm and you're getting paid $30,000 a year and you have 2 kids, you have no money to buy the cold plunge or the sauna, even if you wanted to. You know what I mean? You literally have none. So the idea that this is somewhat approachable is absolutely hilarious, and that comparison speaks wonders.
Saying that there's something wrong with talking about that stuff because other people can't afford it. That's not at all what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that it's actually part of why people are miserable is because they're actually, it's a ridiculous conversation. It's not like the way the earth and the experience of like competing for food and oxygen and living on Earth, and living in society and just being a person.
Living on Earth, He's telling him you don't live on Earth. You live in the clouds. You're on some other planet. You're on Mars with flipping Elon Musk, talking about the flipping, the public square and all that sort of nonsense, and arguing with people to pay $8 for a blue tick.
We've got to some altitude here where we're having some stupid conversations that are just, should I do a cold plunge or a sauna? Like, what the fuck is that? It's not that, it's not you should be ashamed because people can't afford it. I feel sorry for the guy in that conversation. It's like it's a ridiculous trying to find just the right balance because there's nothing really challenging you because you don't have any real problems and you're not on the earth. You're not standing.
That's the case. He doesn't have any real problems, and Joe Rogan thinks, adapt or absorbing these issues, putting these artificial roadblocks in front of him is kind of a weird, real problem. It's like that time when he started running and using 5-finger toe shoes because it hurt his feet more and it was more challenging. Basically, just these artificial obstacles. Again, it's somewhat commendable because these artificial obstacles he's throwing in front of himself. So what basically keeps him somewhat centered. Because even though he's a little bit lacking in self-awareness and a little bit detached from reality, Joe is still probably the coolest rich guy that we know in media, right? In terms of his level, he's still a little bit chill. But, he's still trying to throw these artificial roadblocks in front of him and trying to make his life more difficult than what it is, because life is pretty sweet with your Joe Rogan. It legitimately is.
Standing on the earth anymore. You're in a bubble.
And that's a good thing also because he's worked hard for it. Like, enjoy your sweet life, but let's just relax with the recommending cold plunges for a single mom of 2.
Where you sort of like, maybe I'll try this and maybe I'll just do protein now and I'll do, you know what I mean? And you'll never find a balance because that's not a normal life.
Exactly.
That's not organic living. That's not living like a human being, You don't have a choice because,
but you have
what are you going to do? Go poor on purpose?
This is similar to like Rick Glassman on TFATK. This is similar to that kind of vibe. Similar vibes. He's kind of mocking, but he isn't. It's really hilarious. But to be fair, they're both having different conversations anyway. In general, they're both having different conversations. To be fair to Joe,
a physical body, and if you have a physical body,
look at Joe's got that face. Like, come on, dude. He's got that come on, dude face. So he's a little bit. He's rolling his eyes in his head.
There's things that are beneficial to your physical body.
Sure.
And if you choose to do those things, you'll have a better body. It'll work better. And if you choose not to do those things because you think they're ridiculous, or do you think like, no, that's not organic living, that's not life,
Yeah.
this is not life. It is life. It's life. And people have invented shoes. The reason why they invented shoes is because rocks will cut your feet.
Yeah.
So they figured out.
Equating again, this is Joe Rogan's examples are horrible. Equating, buying a sauna. Or comparing buying a sauna to a Lamborghini, horrible. Comparing the necessity of having a cold plunge to wearing shoes, horrendous. Show me if you can buy a pair of shoes show me where you can buy a cold plunge for $5, right? Because you could buy shoes for literally $5 or get them for free if need be. And then people will probably have them more often. Or show me more people that have spaces where they can put a cold plunge in the first place. Like, where are these spaces? Where are all these people that have places with gardens and places to put things in? Come on, man.
Shoes are better than no shoes, right? Getting in a sauna and getting in a cold plunge is better for the physical body than not doing it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Lifting weights is better than not lifting weights because then you develop a strong body and don't lose your bone density.
All true.
Like, all these things are a part of life. You could just decide they're not organic.
They're a part of life when you've removed yourself from the food chain and from real life.
I love it. It's like when he was always talking about getting elk meat. But you know what's funny that he says about the food? It's like, I used to live in a food desert, or that's where I'm from. Well, equivalent to a food desert. In parts of London, we have very horrible and deprived areas, which again, it's funny growing up in poverty. I never knew I grew up in poverty until I started going to university. I started to go to art college and I started to travel the world and stuff. And I realized, oh shit, I grew up kind of poor in it. So the area that I grew up in is really messed up area called Canning Town and Custom House, which is a bit nicer nowadays, a little bit of gentrification. But it was a little bit of a food desert because the only shops we had near us to eat were fast food restaurants, and not like Burger King, KFC, which they were in some areas, but mostly like hood chicken shops, Indian stores, Chinese stores. So along the whole strip of where I used to live, there'd be a line of shops, of betting shops and fast food joints. That's all it was. Chicken shops where you could get like a box of chicken, 10 wings and fries for £2 and a drink, right? $2 will get you 10 wings, chips and a drink. And that's what you'd be eating all the time. So you don't have much money and you wanted your food to kind of stretch, quote unquote. So you'd be buying this food for cheap and it'd be made for you and stuff and eating it every single day. Horrible, high in cholesterol, using, loads of flipping seed oils and all that stuff, being bad for the environment, being bad for your insides. You're drinking fizzy drinks, you're betting in a betting shop, like horrible, horrible, horrible set of living. but it was only because of the area you were from. There was no ability to get fresh produce, really. The freshest produce you could get was from a local bodega or off license. And, you know, it's not exactly fresh, the stuff you're buying there. The butchers you're buying the stuff from, the meat isn't grass-fed or anything. The slightest, it just is what it is. So you're kind of limited to your choices of what you can eat and put in your body to keep yourself, you know, fed and healthy and stuff. So you have to make compromises. So if someone comes up to you and says, are you on keto or whatnot? What is keto? You're just trying to survive and live every day. There is no ability to be keto, to be Atkins, to do slow carb, to do, you know, protein, meat only. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. So this whole notion that everybody can, you know, do these things is just ridiculous and extreme. But obviously, you don't need to stop talking about it, but it's just decided that everyone can do it. It's funny. It kind of relates a little bit back to the Tom Segura rant. Because I get what Tom Segura was saying, you know, like, if I'm rich and I have all these nice things, I should be able to talk about it without feeling guilty that you don't have them. Cool. But it was just his tinge of like, you're broke because you decided you're broke. It's like, not really. You know, some people just don't have any options out of what they're in. The situations they're in require them to put all their efforts into making sure the lights are on. They can't really pursue anything outside of that in the current moment they're in, maybe because of family, maybe because of responsibilities, maybe because of where they're from, education, all those things wrapped into one. But again, I can understand it in similar, but I can get it in some respect because I think a lot of these guys have this kind of pull yourself up by the bootstraps thing going on. And I think they have a lot of selection bias, or is it selection bias? I think the term is called, where because they've made it, and because they're humans, and because they're like you and I, they're breathing a shit and piss like we do, they think because they can do it, you can do it also. And if you can't do it, they can't wrap their head around it because they said, look, I did it. They've got that kind of weird way of thinking. And really, life is more complex than that and random. Some people just can't do it because they don't have the means, they don't have the intelligence, the wherewithal, the passion. All these sort of things come into it. Societal things, pressures, familial, blah, 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 blah. It's a lot more complex than just pull yourself up by your bootstraps. It's a lot more layered and nuanced and shit. Of course, it's not your problem. Everyone's got their issues, but I understand from the comedian side of things why they can get annoyed by it, because in their heads they're just regular guys. I can understand from the fans' point of view, seeing a comedian who was funny when he was doing his podcast in his bedroom, and now suddenly he's got a studio with, you know, a whole team behind him, and now he's telling you to shut up because you're broke. I can get both sides of it. I can get it. I can definitely get it. But yeah, I thought that Louis CK appearance was so good, man. So good. Yeah, Uche, you read my mind. And let's actually do it now. I should go on Tom Segura. Tom Segura, I know a lot of people on the Your Mom's House forum, subreddit, don't like the guy right now, and they're really getting at him. But Tom Segura looks good than a motherfucker. He looks good. He looks banging. Like, people are saying on the forum, on the Reddit, they're asking if he got work done. Tom has lost so much weight. He's looking after himself to such a level. People are wondering if he got plastic surgery. That's how much he's done. He looks absolutely incredible. There's a picture of him on a horse. Yeah, this is the one. There's a picture of him on a horse. Look at Tom Segura. Look at him. Since he broke his arm, as Uche said, look at what Tom Segura looks like. That is absolutely amazing. Look at him. That is a zaddy. That is a zaddy for real. You know how Brendan's just called people Papa and Daddy and stuff? It's hilarious that he's on the horse in the water with this lady in there actually guiding him and shit. It's absolutely hilarious. But he looks gooder than a motherfucker. This guy looks, you know, Tom Segura looks like? He looks like the guy that's going to divorce his wife and start hooking up with a young Russian model or something, right? Or some Colombian singer that he kind of met on tour. That's what he looks like. Tom looks good. That is a good looking man. That's somebody that's definitely doing the work. This is what Brendan says he does. You can tell Tom's been dieting. You can tell he's been lifting weights. You can tell he's been watching what he drinks. So the times Brendan keeps saying, "Oh, I'm on a I'm on a carnivore diet. I'm breaking it because of you. My cheat day yesterday." It's like, nah, brother, you're cheating every day. You're eating shit every single day. This is what it looks like when you actually work hard, because Tom looked one way before the arm break, and now look what he looks like. He looks really good. He looks really good. Really, 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 really good. Respect to the respecter. Big up Tom Segura for getting his life in order. The complete opposite to what Flynn, Bert Kreicher, and Brendan Schaub have been doing. But Tom looks good. So good that people are wondering if he got work done. That's how you know you look good. Big up this picture. That's really good. And they took inspiration from all the greats that have been on the horses. But yeah, Tom looks superb. Look at the arms. He's got a jawline. And you can tell he looks good also because he shaved his beard. That's usually the sign when guys know they've lost weight and they're looking gooder than a motherfucker. The first thing that goes is the beard, because the beard's like an artificial chin, you know, you can get when you're a dude and you're a bit fat. You grow the beard out so you can get an artificial chin so you look handsome. But then when you start losing actual weight and you get the organic buccal fat removed from your cheeks, you shave the beard down a bit lower. You maybe wear a couple, you know, you maybe cut, you know, maybe style your beard into a mustache or something. You definitely do the vibe. But Tom is looking gooder than a motherfucker. He's looking real good. So big up Tom Segura for doing the work. Look at him. Is that him there? Shit, I didn't recognize him. Look how skinny he looks. Holy shit. Look at that. Look at Tom. Fucking hell. Look at him. That is somebody that's actually working out, like for real. That's someone that went on a run, chilling, do the thing. Look at that. God damn. God damn. This is what you're meant to be doing for. What's that thing called? Oh, the way he's wearing his Timberlands is crazy, isn't it? Australian man. Is that Brisbane's Australia, right? Or am I bugging? Or is that New Zealand? It doesn't matter. But he looks good anyway, regardless. So big up Tom. This is what you're meant to look like after flipping Sober October. You're meant to look a little bit like this. You're not meant to look like what thing he's looking like. Look at him even sitting down. God damn, he looks so skinny. Well done to him, man. He lost a lot of weight. Christina P must be so worried, because this is usually the sign that somebody's gonna look. He's even doing IV drips after shows. This is usually a sign that somebody's looking for a newer wife. Like, do you know what I mean? Look at how good he looks in clothes. Clothes that fit. Oh yeah, that's the thing. That thing you said, right? What's his name? Red Bar's taking credit for this, by the way. Red Bar's taking credit for the fact that Tom Segura is now wearing clothes that fit. Because, you know, I think he took a piss out of him not wearing clothes that fit, and still had fat man clothes on, and now he's clearly got a new stylist or something in charge and he's wearing cool clothes. But if I'm Christina P, I'm worried, man. He's looking too good to be just doing stand-up comedy and going back to his hotel room. You know what I mean? This is somebody that's clearly, you know, look at him. You would never tell that was Tom Segura from the back if you don't know who that was. You would never tell that was Tom Segura there. Jesus Christos, brother. Well done to Tom, innit? If Bert could get his life in order this way, this would be amazing too. But I still have, my belief is, this is again another theory, another weird theory. My belief is that Bert Kreischcher will end up outliving all of them. He'll end up outliving Joe Rogan, Brendan Schaub, all these people that pretend to be fitness people, Andrew Tino, Schaub. Bert Kreischcher is going to outlive every single one of those comedians. They're all going to, unfortunately, you know, not soon, but they'll probably all pass away before Bert Kreischcher. I've just got a feeling. He's one of those guys who doesn't take any care of his body. He's absolutely reckless, you know, horrible. And he'll end up outliving every single one of those guys. I bet you any money. Watch. Every single one. Bert Kreischcher will outlive every single one. Nah, no way. What's that? Severa Design. Bert definitely got 5 years left. Nope. He's going to outlive everybody. I bet you. Watch. Just watch. Just you guys watch. He's going to outlive every single person. Remember I said that. He's going to outlive every single person in that group. I guarantee it. But yeah, big up Tom Segura regardless anyway. He looks absolutely fantastic. Well done to him for getting his life in order. For some reason the chat stopped again for me, did it? Oh, for fuck's sake. I don't know why it keeps doing this. I mean, maybe it's need to reinstall it again, but it keeps flipping. Okay, maybe let me try and restart it again then. Who's the last person on there? 20 Saturday, a long time ago, isn't it? How far is that? Oh, okay, cool. Let me restart this chat again. Annoying. Nah, Papa won't be the last one standing. Bert Kreischcher will, I guarantee you. Bert Kreischcher and Crystal Lee will be the last one standing. The Diddler and the Fat Man. The Diddler and the Fat Man. They'll be the last one standing. I guarantee you. Watch. Just you wait, guys. Just you wait. Let's move on from that. Oh, how long we got? Wow, we done 3 hours. Fucking hell. Oh, look at this, mate, yeah? Fair enough, Chrysalia didn't get cancelled, and nothing really, you know, substantial happen in his career. If anything, a few articles here and there, some muted protests at his recent shows. But if there's one thing that canceling does to people, if there's one bit of karmic retribution that does happen, it's this. This is the karmic retribution. So if you are one of the victims out there and you're wanting something bad to happen to the guy, I think this is what you should be willing to accept. The fact that he looks like absolute pure shit now. This is the guy that everyone referred to as the hottest comedian. All the girls swooned after him. He was the guy that was murdering and tearing things apart on the cusp of being an action movie star, blah, blah, blah. And now he legitimately looks horrible. Like, he looks horrendous. The beard, the shadow, the hair that hasn't been washed in a while, the shirt that looks like it came from the back of underneath his car seat somewhere. He looks horrendous, horrendous. So I think that's probably the only bit of karmic retribution you probably are going to get if you're a victim. Unless any criminal charges come his way, this is probably the max you're going to get. That Christina now looks like this. Crazy, isn't it? The once handsome heartbreaker of a comedian now looks like that. That's what happens when you get cancelled. That's what happens when you get, and especially if the allegations are true, that's what happens. All the stress of having to maintain those lies, of having to convince yourself of the lie, of having to look your family members and people close to you in the eye and lie to them, knowing and carrying those secrets of how many people that you've hurt and all that stuff. That's what it does to you. It does that. It ages you in a million ways. And there's no way getting around it. It kind of reminds me a little bit of those Harvey Weinstein images when he's going to court. I know he was playing it up because he wanted to get a lighter sentence, and he came through in a Zimmer frame with the tennis balls at the bottom. But he legitimately looked broken. I know he was kind of playing it a bit, but he legitimately looked like he was a broken man. His face was gaunt and kind of sucked all the blood out of it, was going from his face. The beard was unkempt. He looked disheveled. His tie was all over the place. Like, he looked horrendous. And this is the same way that flipping Christina looks. So if you are looking for some karmic retribution, you're a victim, or you just don't like him in general, or you're, you know, an Alice Hamilton type, I know you probably want him to be buried under a prison, but that likely isn't going to happen considering how hard it is to convict people and those kind of horrible crimes, especially after the fact. But this might be some of your comeuppance. The fact that he looks like this might be your comeuppance, because this is like Brendan Schaub level of horrendous. Like, look at that. That's a face, isn't it? That's a face that's been through it. Getting little girls to diddle, or diddling little girls and getting them to tattoo their initials on you, finding out that people can screen record flipping Snapchat conversations. That's what happens. Jesus Christos. God damn. God damn. What can you do when you diddle? That's what happens. Your life goes down the drain and everyone gets crazy. Also, this is another sign that maybe he hasn't learned his lesson and maybe he's relapsing, which is funny, isn't it? Like, I've never heard of somebody saying they're relapsing into cheating. That's the weirdest excuse for stepping out in your relationship and being a little bit of a dog in the streets, saying that you relapse and you're going into therapy. It's like, huh? That's such a disassociative, narcissistic thing, right? Not to take responsibility, or sociopathic, whatever, one of those things. Kind of distance yourself. Oh, it's my addiction. It's not your addiction. It's your flipping penis you can't keep in your pants, my friend. And this is another good example of it. This is a story that Chris uploaded recently. Someone shared in the FYRE subreddit of him on a jet, I guess, going to do his comedy shows, and his nails painted. A man in his 40s who's married, with a neck tattoo that he got recently, who's got these accusations of diddling kids, is doing the peacocking thing of painting his nails, which is what young kids do nowadays, right? If you're a young, cool kid and you want to embrace your feminine side and you want to appear non-bothered and, you know, masculine and secure in your sexuality, the first thing you do is you paint your nails. So this is a clear signal to the flipping young ladies out there that he's out there and available, because who's going to be replying to this? Again, it's an Instagram story, so you're going to be getting direct DMs of people sending you heart eye emojis, kisses emojis, devils emojis in a chat, and whatnot, letting you know it's about to go down. This is the only people who are replying. So this is a weird signal. So it's either him trying to recapture his old punk days, which I don't believe, or it's him basically putting out the bat signal that he's in town and ready to mingle. 45-plus-year-old man who's got no connection to punk culture in the slightest, who's been documented of being a serial cheater, right, to the point where he's probably in the 3-digit numbers in terms of the amount of women he slept with between his relationships and stuff. He's a dog in these streets. He's, you know, he's on really thin ice considering his diddling allegations, and he's uploading stories of himself with his nails painted on the way to an event. And his marriage band, look, he's got his wedding ring there in his picture too showing. So what, marriage life is punk, but here's my nails anyway. If you're young and you're under 21, get in my DMs, even though I'm married, LOL, right? It's a kind of a weird, it's confusing message that he's sending. I'm a bit confused. You know what I mean, what are you meant to do? Are you meant to be turned on? Are you meant to be respectful? Like, what's the vibe here? But it does feel a little bit sussy, But also, this is the same guy who got a neck tattoo in his, you know, as his second tattoo in his 40s. The first one was a hand tattoo. Again, loads of really strange signals that you send to young girls. And imagine his wife. How's his wife gonna feel? You're still doing this sort of stuff. So what's his wife meant to do? His wife meant to come up in a flipping crop top? Is she meant to have a flipping tramp stamp on? Is she meant to be wearing Y2K trendy type of stuff and platform shoes and whatnot to try and appeal to him? When really that's what he wants. He wants a young thing. You know what I mean, with Dr. Martens on. On their phone too much and whatnot. I think it's bizarre personally for me. Really, really bizarre. Really, really strange. It's, oh yeah, true. He's receding hairline. Yeah, that hairline is going back to Ghana. But look, that is a head shape, isn't it? God damn it, bro. He needs to go to Turkey ASAP. But I think if he went to Turkey, he'd definitely get a good bit of treatment. If he went to Turkey, he'd have a full head of hair. He'd have BGL level hair. But God Almighty, mate, diddler's ready to diddle, innit? Those two fingers, they're cut short as well. You know, like lesbians. I think Kalani's the one, right? They always have those. That I've recently discovered the lesbian thing where you get your nails manicured, you have your normal long nails, and you have a couple of short ones just in case something goes down with the ladies. So he's got his nails nice and short, ready to give, you know, the alleged underage victims a finger blasting that they've never had in history. Oh mate, even if I was painting my nails, I'd have to stop it if CRISTINA does it. I mean, it's over. If he starts wearing pearls, if he starts painting his nails, if he starts wearing Dr. Martens, if he starts wearing, you know, cool jackets like I'm wearing and shit, I'd have to stop it because clearly it's become a little bit cliche, similar to like sneaker collecting and shit. But yeah, CRISTINA is out there in the streets. He's out there in the Portland streets. Hide your mothers, hide your kids. You know, ticket link there, ready to buy. Click there and get involved. Portland, here I come. Sign the DMs. I'd love to see what the DMs are like after this picture. They were probably nasty. He's probably got 2-factor verification on that Instagram profile, mate. Because if anyone gets in those DMs and see what he gets out there, oof, it's gonna be tough for him out there, mate. It's gonna be fucking tough. He's probably got 2-factor verification up the wazoo in there. Up the wazoo. Let's talk about this. Oh yeah, let's talk about this. Yeah, let's talk about this. This is an interesting one. Let's mention this. Hope it loads. So it looks like they've been making some alterations to the TFATK show, which I think is pretty interesting now. They are changing the days that they are uploading the show in an effort to counteract some sort of phantom shadow banning thing that Brendan has convinced himself is the reason why the show isn't as successful as it once was, which is absolutely bizarre in my opinion. But let me play the video anyway so you can see what these guys are saying.
Got an announcement.
Breaking news.
Good stuff.
Finally Kid is going back. We're dropping episodes now Tuesday, Thursdays, Tuesday and Thursday, 5 a.m. audio, 12 p.m. Pacific time, noon. You will get the YouTube video. So every Tuesday, Thursday.
Starts January 31st, 5 a.m. audio release.
Jesus Christ, Brendan, man. His inability to talk is incredible, isn't it? I can't talk. Jesus Christos, brother.
Tuesday and Thursday, 12 p.m. video release.
Guaranteed.
Tuesday, Thursday,
Guaranteed. Every time.
That's what starts January 3rd.
And the reason why,
Chin, I'm glad you asked. The reason why I have psoriasis is because of stress. But the reason why we're dropping the video at 12 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays is because of YouTube algorithm that's messing with us. We say some crazy stuff. YouTube doesn't like that, so we're getting demonetized. We're getting suppressed. So this is our way to combat that. And
without changing the show. So you guys can do whatever you guys want to do.
We can still do what we want to do.
No censoring.
But no censoring. We can upload it early to see what gets flagged so we know what we're dealing
Because
with.
if we can't talk about dicks, we don't have a show.
Which is, again, bizarre. In my opinion, I think it's very bizarre that they're immediately blaming shadow banning and saying that they're being suppressed and whatnot, because from my assumption and from my purview of being a long-time viewer and a fan at the beginning, these guys don't say anything worthwhile that would warrant a shadow banning. We know shadow banning does exist ever since, what's his name? Jack Dorsey had to kind of fess up to it. And now we've obviously got evidence of it through the Twitter leaks and stuff with Elon Musk. We know shadow banning exists. We know some social media platforms have the ability to mute, suppress, and limit the reach of certain accounts if they kind of, say the wrong thing. We saw it happening a lot during the COVID pandemic, and clearly this has been happening for a while. We know this to be a thing, but it generally affects people who are lightning rods in society, people who are affecting change, people who are incredibly popular, and people that have the kind of a counter narrative to what's going on out there, counter narrative to what's going on out there in mainstream society. Brendan Schaub and BRYAN CALLEN do not say anything that would warrant being shadow banned in the slightest. Zero. Nothing. Maybe Brendan Schaub's inability to speak the English language might be something that would raise a flag in a couple of places, like, oh my god, where's this redact getting his words from? How is he framing his sentences this way? Why can't he pronounce chairs and he's saying chairs, what cheers, and all this sort of nonsense? What's going on here? What are we doing here? But it's not enough for them to get shadow banned in the slightest. This is the biggest cope I've seen in my life. And the reason that's really funny about this cope is that there's never a scenario where these guys sit down and think, hold on, there was a period in time where the Fighting the Kid podcast was getting 100,000 views minimum. Now some of their podcasts can't even get over 60, over 70, over 80, over 90, over 100. In the last few months, I think we just saw already on the screen that the Bradley Martin episode that they had, or the last few weeks, sorry, was the only one to crack over 100,000. Everything else has been over 100,000 views. And of course, for the business they're running and the cost they're accruing, they have to make sure the AdSense is at a particular level, the views at a particular level, and that would also allow them to get more sponsors. So clearly, this is a big issue. And them panicking and trying to drop it on a random days and move it around is their ability to change it. But never in this entire conversation have they sat there and thought, hold on, what are we doing differently from when we were getting 200,000 views, 300,000 views, 500,000 views, 1 million views? What's happened? What's changed? There's no self-reflection, no accountability, no personal responsibility. It's always the fault of somebody else. This big bad wolf, this big bad cancel culture person out there. It's a nonsense. Look at it from just a purely, objective point of view. This guy sat next to an accused rapist. I know it's accusations and it's not, everyone's innocent until proven guilty, but there was an entire op-ed written about, or, article put together by a journalist with vetted profiles of people who accused him of rape and sexual misconduct. There are only accusations, but the accusations enough. I'm pretty sure those things go out in the newswire and they hit certain social media platforms and people report certain accounts. So I'm pretty sure maybe BRYAN CALLEN's name has been shadow banned or limited in some respect. So you put that person on your YouTube channel every single week who's been accused of the things they've been accused of. No wonder you're going to get shadow banned. No wonder you're going to get suppressed in some ways, because you're standing next to somebody that was accused of rape. The same thing goes for Cristina. That's why I said in the beginning, I couldn't understand why Brendan Schaub was riding so hard for these guys when his entire business, his entire media empire is basically centered around the Fighting the Kid. Without the Fighting the Kid, nothing else runs. He doesn't have the Showtime checks anymore because, again, he took for granted, the Showtime checks, because I think Showtime paid it for a lot of things in the Brendan Schaub universe, from you know, trips to cars, to fenders, to exhaust, to holidays, to, you know, wifey's clothes that she's selling on fucking Poshmark again. They paid for a lot, those Showtime checks, but he took it for granted. And now his only real big money earner, you would assume, would be his stand-up comedy, going on tour and doing shows on the road and shit. But again, how long is that going to last? Especially if you keep putting out terrible specials and more people keep seeing them and seeing you're terrible at what you do. Who knows? And then, of course, the podcast, which are getting a lot of money from sponsors and shit because of the association with Joe and the numbers you get and how long you've been in the game. But you have to maintain a certain level. You can't let it go down. You can't let it go below a certain threshold. And for some reason, there's no personal accountability. There's just blaming all these other things that are going on and going wrong about it. And I think it's really, 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 really odd, in my opinion. But for sure, this proves that they're panicking behind the scenes to make this big change in terms of when they're dropping episodes and shit. It definitely goes to show that the numbers aren't right. They're not where they need to be. And it's making them sweat. It's making them worry. And they're now at the point where they're thinking, you know what, we need to change something to get this back to where it needs to be. And clearly there are issues going on there, but for some reason they can't get to a point where they realize it's probably maybe them. And I love this flipping tightness of the trousers, so you can see the flipping nice bit of man meat there at the bottom. You love that sort of stuff, right? This is probably the only podcast where you see the host of the show spreading their legs as far as possible. Like, what is with this incredible amount of man spreading? I really don't understand it, especially when the camera is right in front of you. This like full frontal look at my crotch thing going on there. You've got Brendan's old man balls bulging through. You've got flipping Brendan's purple whiskey filled throbbing shaft piercing the top of his flipping jeans, you know, ready to give him flop out at any moment's time. They love the man spreading. It's like full frontal. It's quite offensive, I think. Maybe crop it a little bit higher, you know? Maybe crop it a little bit higher. That'll be a little bit better. But God almighty, mate, the full frontal press that they're giving us viewers is pretty alarming. I'm not going to lie. Pretty alarming, and none of the arousing. No arousal, all alarm. Like a good abuser, innit? Like a good abuser. No arousal, just alarm. Ring that bloody alarm, mate. Ring that bloody alarm. Someone's coming here. He's stealing all your kids. He's stealing everybody. Run, run, run. What was I talking about here? I think that may be it, you know. We're already 3.5 hours. Bloody hell. Oh yeah, this is one, isn't it? My man talking about stress. Brendan talking about stress. This might be relating to BGL and why BGL got gadooshed. This is Brendan and Bryan talking about stress in the recent episode. Again, let's play this and hear what they say.
Spots is going to be the best thing for
Let's
me.
also look at our stress levels.
Oh, that's number one.
Number one.
I have to fire some people.
Number one.
Mm-hmm.
One more time.
Spots is going to be the best thing for me.
Let's also look at our stress levels.
Oh, that's number one.
Number one.
I have to fire some people.
Number one.
Mm-hmm.
Number one.
Oh.
Fire some people. So definitely a lot more people got fired than we first assumed. As BGL stated, it was probably 2. So we're saying producer Nick and BGL. And I find it also funny. I also find it funny that Bryan here is kind of not involved. And it kind of goes back to the weird dynamic that's changed between... Yeah, oh, DJ. Yes, Uche, for sure. DMB. Do you have a DJ, DMB? Yes, for sure. I love drum and bass. I used to go to many drum and bass nights back in the day when it was at its flipping heyday. I love that. I love that genre of music. I love the vibes actually of the raves themselves. I think they're always really fun and the opposite of pretentiousness, especially in London. I feel like techno and house sometimes can be awful. They can be really snobby and people up their own arse. But I feel like DMB raves, for some reason, I don't know why, it seems to attract people who just don't seem to take themselves too seriously. I've had probably the best times going to DMB raves. Most of my times, man. Love it, love it. Yeah. It's so good. So good. Love good beer, DMB. Anyway, go back to this quickly. Bryan Callen looks like he's an employee. He sounds like an employee. He doesn't sound like a co-owner of the TFATK at all. And I think the dynamic has always changed ever since Bryan Callen came back off the back of that rape allegation. it seems like he's been more of an employee than he's been a partner in the company or a partner in TFATK. And Brendan basically does what he does in the operation and running of the show, and Bryan just turns up and does the show as a co-host, but he's not a co-owner anymore. And I'd imagine, I think, in my opinion, behind the scenes, without telling anybody, they've probably changed the splits too. I think before the splits were like 60-40, weren't they? Because I think Brendan was doing the merch. But it wouldn't surprise me if the splits now are 70-30 or something like that. Because Bryan doesn't seem like he's involved in the decision-making, things that go behind the scenes. It doesn't seem like he gives a fuck to get involved anywhere again because he's fucking lazy. This is probably already too much hard work for him. But I'll be surprised how long because he's got his own podcast going in it, Bryan Callen. He's had his own he's had like 17 versions of his own podcast since the beginning of when I listened to The Fire and the Kid. So it's interesting to see how long this one lasts, because he's been pretty consistent with his YouTube channel. He's been putting out some decent videos. I don't watch them, but they look like they're well put together, edited and whatnot. It'll be interesting to see how long he keeps it up. But for sure, when it comes to TFATK, Brendan Schaub is the main guy. He is the main dude in TFATK. Like, without him, that business doesn't run. So big up their kind of dynamic now, and Bryan basically having to find out, on the day or when it happens already, that people have been fired. He's not probably being consulted about certain things, which he probably doesn't care about, because I don't think him and BGL were on the best of terms anyway, just looking from the outside in. But yeah, the dynamic has definitely changed between the both of them. They're definitely not as much friends as they were prior before. In my humble opinion, I don't think they are friends in that way anymore. What else do I have to check here? I think that might be it. Let me double check and see if I got anything else. Anything else I wanted to check here and talk to you about? I think that might be it. I think that might be it. I think we're finished for the day, mate. It's already been 3.5 hours here, and I've been rabbiting on, blabbering on, talking. What else do I have to say here? That's it. Nothing else in it, right? Yeah, I think that's it. I think that might be it. I think that's it, man. I think that's it for the show at the moment. Oh yeah, no. Let's look at this quickly. You've seen this? So Brendan, let's just do this quick before I leave. You see this? Brendan's talking about his psoriasis. So Brendan Schaub has got psoriasis all of a sudden. He's now, psoriasis kid, and this has become on a bit of an issue. And it's interesting because he says he got it because he's working too much. But if you look at the causes of psoriasis, I'm pretty sure the psoriasis causes are related to alcohol and shit. I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken. Let's quickly double check, but I'm pretty sure psoriasis is something to do with alcohol and maybe eating shitty foods causes. Let's see. Let's write it here quickly and see what I'm going. But I think so. I think it might be that. See, look at this. Psoriasis. Yeah, you see? Look at that. One of the first results on Google. An injury to your skin, such as a cut, scrape, insect bite. This is called NOBA response. Common triggers: drinking excessive amounts of alcohol, smoking, stress. I love how he skipped these two parts and just went straight to stress. The drinking wasn't really equated in it. Every clip you see of him on flipping stage is him with a heavy pour glass of flipping whiskey. Hormonal change, particularly in women, for example, during puberty and menopause. But these two, you would imagine, would be the common stresses that would give him a lot of flipping stress that would cause psoriasis outbreak in him. The funny thing about the psoriasis thing is that I remember in the early, maybe I might use it. I might try and make a video out of it actually, if I use the flipping TFATK search engine. But there was a period in time during The Fire and the Kid where Bryan Callen had really bad psoriasis all over his body, not just on his legs, everywhere. And I remember Brendan taking the piss out of him a lot about it. And I think he got that a lot because of his thing that happened. I think maybe when he's going through a divorce with his wife, I think, or some stress with his career. Something happened, something really, or maybe even that was the start of the allegation. I'm not really too sure, but there was a time in history where Bryan Callen had really bad psoriasis and Brendan Schaub didn't stop reminding him about it. So it's really funny how that kind of tables get turned this way. Another person says here, the intrigue says psoriasis can be influenced by stress, but the whiskey is big factor too. He's stressed because his views are down 70%, so he just Gadoosh BGL because he had to blame someone other than himself. Of course, yeah, for sure. Gatos Konokas. He's not stressed from working hard because he works free. Exactly. These guys with stress and working hard, brother, man. You've got a pre-built studio with a producer that clicks record because he doesn't upload. He's not designing the thumbnails. He's not writing the titles of the episodes. He's not writing the descriptions. He's not uploading it to his RSS feed. He's not making sure the uploads are done well, uploading clips and stuff. Like, let's relax. He sits in front of a microphone, sits down, talks for a bit, and then ducks out. Do you know what I mean? Let's just chill. Even his own tweets, you remember before he was getting flipping BGL to do his tweets. He send them via text and they tweet them out, like weird things, like just bizarre, like, I don't know, just trying to pretend like you're a big deal sort of stuff. It's very, very strange. But anyway, what can you do? I still think the whiskey and the drinking is probably something that's not helped, especially for him when he's flipping getting absolutely hammered in the morning, absolutely hammered. If you don't believe me, there's this compilation someone put together of him looking and sounding incredibly, incredibly, incredibly drunk. Let me see if I can get up on here. It's a fucking mad clip. Where is it? Where is it? It's a really crazy compilation of him sounding really, really, really horrible. Oh, where is it? Oh, did I move it? Oh no, it's not that one. It's not that one. This break is not good. This break is anti. This is not Netflix. This is definitely Blockbuster. Please forgive me. This is very, very much Blockbuster. Not Diddler, not that one. Not this one. It's him sitting down and he looks absolutely hammered. I think I've got it somewhere here. Where is it? Come on, load, you absolute monkey. Where did I put you? Where are you? Not that one, not that one. Not that one. I've got too many tabs open, but my computer's not slowing down, so that's a good thing. Please bear with me. There we go. Found it. So this is the one. This is the one where he's absolutely blasted, right? And this is a good way to kind of end probably on this show. This is one of the for the Schaub show. He looks absolutely smashed. And again, this could be just him stressed in terms of the kids and stuff at home, having to clean the tank, looking after a living wife. I don't know, whatever, at home wife, whatever. Maybe that could be the reason. But I'm sure the drinking at 9 a.m. doesn't help things either, to be honest. But let's play the clip.
Deep sea fishing, we're supposed to. He's like, so what should I have done? I dig it. Was it, if I was going to reel it in, should I fish our friends, not food? I think I put too much of it. I mean, when you think ocean, I was like, that's what he's saying around this area, like some redfin trouts. I don't know. I go on, look, dolphin. They just walking around the waters. I would probably, I'm slower vibe.
Jesus Christ.
Feel like that fit your vibe, Jen? Everyone's just around fishing. If I could dream of a Super Bowl and then Jordan,
Super Bowl, bro. Why can't he pronounce words? Is that speech impediment or CTE? Why do you think that is? Why can't he enunciate his words? Super Bowl. He just gives. My theory is that he can, but he just chooses not to because he's lazy. He just gives up. Super Bowl instead of pronouncing it Super Bowl. Super Bowl. Super Bowl. Super Bowl. Let's go back there again.
If I could dream of a Super Bowl and then Jordan, Burrow. If I could dream of a Super Bowl, 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 if I could dream of a Super, I could dream of a Super Bowl. If I could dream of a Super Bowl and then Jordan, Burroughs. TV's popping around. Jamal Hill, Glover Texera, and brothers that in the English language we refer to as twins. Now, Paul Feller, some of Terrence McKinney, and you could see was you like, all right, if he's at, but you still don't. You gotta scroll back up, Chin. Mm-hmm. Terrence McKinney, it's not that cool. Just it's a little disrespectful because
the bit I love the best about Brett is when he tries to read really quickly, even though he can't pronounce stuff and he can't say stuff properly, and he can't read the best. He tries to read really quickly. It's really funny. It kind of reminds you of like foreign people, people who are not native to English as second language. When they speak really quickly, even though they can't speak the language, it's funny because they want to be, they want to get their point across as fast as possible. It's the same with he does in English. Actually, English is Brendan Shaw's second language.
It's MMA. It's the worst sport to bet on. I'm off to Naples, February. Please scroll up, Jen. Baby, tickets at thickboy.com. Conference championship.
It's like his tongue is like heavy. It's like his tongue is like the weight of an anvil. It's like very heavy tongue. It's very redact levels. The tongue is mostly the tongue thing. It's less to do with his mouth. It's more so the tongue is like, it's like when your tongue is inflamed. It's like if someone stung your tongue. Imagine a bee stung your tongue, and you say Super Bowl instead of Super Bowl or Super Bowl. It's a Super Bowl. It makes your tongue get stung.
Games, the Super Bowl 57, new customers. Wow, you can feel the conference championship thrills. Schaub show, SCHAUB show, minimum age eligibility restrictions.
Hold on. Bro. Did you hear that? He spelled his own surname wrong. Did you hear that? Did you hear he spelled his own surname wrong?
Show, SCHAUB show, minimum age eligibility restrictions. Schaub show, SCHAUB show.
He said Schaub show, SCHAB show. He missed the U in his own flipping name. I swear he missed the U, or am I bugging out? I swear he missed the U.
Championship thrills, Schaub show, SCHAUB show. Wow, you can feel the conference championship thrills, Schaub show, SCHAUB show. The conference championship thrills, Schaub show, SCHAUB show.
SCH, maybe he said SCHAEB show, so he added an extra letter onto it. God almighty, Brendan.
Minimum age eligibility restrictions apply. You better hurry up and get on it. Something special for January. 20% off supplements, 10% off fitness, streaming.
You should, any supplement that he promotes on his show, you shouldn't get in any way, shape, or form. There's no supplement that he should get, he should order, or he does get, or he does endorse that you should get. None. Oh, by the way, what happened to Sneaker of the Week? That's gone. I just realized it. What happened to Sneaker of the Week? There's meant to be a Sneaker of the Week here. Every week he was meant to change the sneaker and put it up there. For the longest time, it was the Nike. What's that Nike Yeezy called? I forgot the name of it. Fuck, I forgot the name. The original Nike Yeezy, that Zen grey one. He had that there. The second one, that was always there on that shelf. And he said when he first moved into the studio, he was going to change it every week. But of course, he's too lazy, so it never got changed. Now it's completely gone. Now it's just this plaque for the views. And some, I don't know what's the he's energy drinks and shit. He's piss whiskey, which is probably still full, and that one that's empty. But yeah, the sneaker of the week is completely gone. He's abandoned the sneaker of the week.
Fitness, so you can support each other. The best supplements on planet Earth. Paul Craig over Johnny Walker. I like Paul Craig. I said he's my lock. Jesus Christ. Reach for that single, just gets his head beaten.
Hold on. This is why I know I'm good. How could you? Going for Paul Craig over Johnny Walker, again, being a casual of MMA or a casual UFC fan, even I would have known Johnny Walker had a far better chance of beating Paul Craig than Paul Craig had a chance of beating Johnny Walker. Considering all Paul Craig can do is submissions, and his grappling isn't that great, and his striking is dog shit, especially when you take into account his previous fights, it was pretty obvious who was going to win that fight, in my opinion. Unless Paul Craig was able to get him down and submit him and stuff. Like, it's easy. Like, I don't know, like, man, or am I being a bit too harsh there? That's a weird pick to go for. That's not really one you would put money on, I would assume, because it's more likely that Johnny Walker would win, especially considering how unpredictable he is on his feet, like, and how good he is in striking and shit. I don't know. Maybe it's me.
And he said, John Jones, I'm coming for you. I was like, he's a heavyweight. So for having the skill set to submit a Jessica Andrade, not great. So it's just like this. Is there any way we can just go to another game? That's unfortunately complete nightmare. Jiu-jitsu's his Achilles heels. Then Gilbert Burns gets on the mic.
Oh, hold on. What's that? Achilles heels. What's that? What was that?
Complete nightmare. Jiu-jitsu's his Achilles heels. Then Gilbert Burns gets
Achilles heels.
Unfortunately, complete. Can just go to another game. That's unfortunately complete nightmare. Jiu-jitsu's his Achilles heels. That's unfortunately complete nightmare. Jiu-jitsu's his Achilles heels. Unfortunately, complete nightmare. Jiu-jitsu's his Achilles heels.
Jesus Christ, man, the pronunciation is absolutely incredible. It's weird too because he stopped fighting quite early. Like, he wasn't that far down his career. Like, I know he got some really bad knockouts, but he's been doing comedy for a while and podcasting. Like, he's approaching 10-year mark of doing stand-up. He's been podcasting for longer than that. Maybe it's already over 10 years. And he just sits in a chair and speaks into a microphone. And he's basically got a career where he basically makes his own working schedule, right? He can work when he wants, get off when he wants, go on tour when he wants. So why would his speech deteriorate like that so quickly? Like, it sounds crazy. Like, and I don't think it's all drinking, actually. This just might be how he speaks day to day. I don't know. It might not be a drink thing. Maybe we're giving the drink too much credit. Maybe it's just how he speaks. Damn, man. Yeah, someone said here, even TV the Huck said, I used to laugh at watching this, but now it's just getting sad. Exactly. I don't know if it's actually drinking thing. It might just be how he is now. This might be one of the, you know how there's long COVID, right? There's long COVID symptoms where if you've had COVID, you might have these residual effects. Maybe you still can't taste stuff. Maybe your cardiovascular endurance isn't what it used to be. You can't run upstairs anymore, even though you're really fit. Maybe your eyesight's a bit fucked up. Like there are things that people are still, you know, having to deal with now who had COVID. Maybe this is one of the weird things with CTE. Maybe CTE is like it's on a grade. It's on like a variant. Sorry, it's on like there's a range of CTE, right? It kind of covers a range. So maybe one of the effects is like long term, where you kind of, you know, have these weird things happening where it's not quite forgetting your keys and pissing yourself, but you know, your speech is a bit weird and fucked up because someone his age shouldn't be talking like this unless they're drunk. Because even if they haven't slept, I don't know. It's a bit wild, man. It's a bit insane.
Gilbert Burns gets on mic. How like Head and Shoulders or someone doesn't come along and give that dude a sponsor? I don't know. They don't have a picture of him with his hair. Come to him. Yeah, look at his little. Oh yeah, it is just, and it's the no broke ends.
Jesus Christ! I know this is the edit, but say your words, brother. Say your words.
Yeah, look at his little. Oh yeah, it is just, and it's the no broke ends. I mean, it might have the best hair in the UFC right now. That thing is popping, dude. So he closes eye, do a punch. Brandon Ray, when he throws, is like that's the punch. Dude, what round? I forget what round it was in. And then he goes right into it. Then Figueroa gets him in a guillotine, grappling, man. So what's that?
Jesus, man. This should be, in my opinion, this should be his marquee show. This should be his standout show. Similar with Food Truck Diaries. This should be his bread and butter standout show where he gets to flex his expertise. He gets to be creative. And he gets to offer something different because he's a former fighter at the highest levels in UFC. In one of the meanest divisions in heavyweight. And now he's a media figure. This should be his marquee. This should be the show that he stands on and says, yeah, I do this better than anybody, or I've got my own little niche that I've kind of carved out for myself. No one can do my show like me. But if anything, this is probably the worst type of UFC content you could ever subscribe to. Legit. Like, who would listen to this shit? This is legitimately horrible. The coverage, the lack of passion, the lack of research, the lack of interesting hot takes and, you know, different perspective on things and analysis and fight card breakdowns. It's non-existent. Man just reads off of Wikipedia stuff. Like, and it's like, come on, Brendan, man. You was a former UFC guy. Like, you should be having a lot more sizzle in this. Like, it should be a lot more. There should be more to it. It should be the jewel in your crown, in my opinion. This should be it. The Schaub show definitely should be it, alongside Thingy Majiggy, the Food Truck Diaries. But he just phones us in. This is probably the reason why the flipping, what's the thing called? Showtime cut him off, because he was just phoning it in. He wasn't even trying. It's a lifestyle show. It's a cop out for just saying you're not going to do research. Like, research the cards. Like some fight cards, you wouldn't even watch the prelims. And I watch the prelims. I'm a casual. I watch the prelims. You wouldn't even watch the prelims. Only watches the main cards. So has no idea who the young up and coming people are. He wouldn't watch tape on people and watch previous fights and break down things. Just, you know, regurgitate flipping analysis from flipping Luke Thomas and shit. Like, or Ariel Hawani and whatnot. It's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. This is not a better show. This is horrendous, man.
What's it? So that now Figueroa going up to one. Look at his eye. Who wouldn't you want to see him fight out of those guys? You're gonna get. So of course, Sanhayo 35. He's actually, here's what's crazy to say. He's not depleting his body. Just
Jesus.
You just see in his face. He looked ill. Los Angeles.
I don't know, brother, man. You may be looking a little bit ill yourself, sir. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but you don't look the best yourself, sir. But hey, what can you do? We've all got our things. We've all got our issues. We're all kind of struggling to keep ourselves head above water. And I guess he's trying his best with what he's given, innit? I guess he's trying his best also. But Jesus Christ, that guy looks horrendous. But hey, That has been me. That has been me. Episode what? Number 77, I think I said, right? 77 of the Random Show. I hope you have enjoyed it. I hope you have enjoyed it. I've hoped you've liked it and shit. I don't think I've got any more to talk about, have I? Let me just double check here, make sure I've not nothing more to speak about here. I think I spoke about everything. I'm pretty sure I have. Let me just double check and make sure. Let me just make sure I haven't missed anything. I don't think I have missed anything, but we just want to double check. I think this is all done. Big up everybody that's been tuning in. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? I think I've done it. I think I might be done actually. I'm just double checking, going through my tabs again just in case I've maybe lost anything. But if you are still here and you've enjoyed what I've done, make sure you smash that like for me. That'd be greatly appreciated. It's the only thing I ask from you lovely people in the chat who've hanged in there and hung in there with me, because we're hung in there together. So if you did enjoy the show, then please make sure you smash that like for me, so it helps me get into the algorithms and tune in there and do the good things in there and score all those good things in there. You know what I mean in there. But yeah, let's end it with this one. Let's do this one. This is end on this one. This was really good. Louis C.K. giving Bert Kreicher a dressing down because he thinks he's the hero of his own movie. This is an encapsulation, perfect encapsulation of the comedy scene and how wrapped up these guys are in their own imagination and legitimately thinking that they are fucking Bruce Willis in fucking Die Hard. It's absolutely incredible. But look at this. Look at Bert Kreicher, you know, butting heads with Louis C.K. in this regard. Incredible.
Okay. I mean, I think this is probably a narcissistic thing to say, but don't you, when someone dies, like I remember the first person I knew that died, his name was Scott, and we were in college and he got hit by a car. And
shit.
Yeah. And right on in front of the bar we were all at. And
was he drunk?
Yeah. He was. And we used to cross the street, just run across the street. And he just went to run across the street and a car hit him.
And that was it.
And I remember thinking, but I'm still here. Like that's crazy that he's gone and I'm here.
Yeah.
It's fucking weird. It's almost like in a weird way, like a Schadenfreude.
Schadenfreude.
That's it. We're like
Look at Louis face. I told you, even Bert Kreicher believes he's going to outlast everybody. I told you, he's going to, Bert Kreicher, mark my words, Bert Kreicher will outlive every single person in the JRE extended universe. I guarantee you, he will outlive them. I guarantee you.
People die, but then you stay.
Yeah.
And you're like, fuck, so I guess I always live? Right?
Right, because you have lived.
Yeah, and I keep missing it. Like, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, but it's like,
so every time someone dies, I go, another one, man.
Right. So every time somebody dies, it's really about your survival. It's really just another sign that you're never going to die. That's I don't think that's narcissistic. It's just retarded. I'm pretty sure that's just no, he died and I'm here.
And Louis C.K. is a fucking legend. He's a fucking legend. Please never go. Please never leave us again, Louis C.K. We need you. You are a breath of fresh air. Oh my God, amazing. I told you, even Bert believes his own nonsense. Even Bert believes it. This guy is absolutely incredible. Because I live that. There's people out there, probably, I'm sure there are legit functioning alcoholics who watch Bert Kreicher's content, who watch Your Mum's House, and probably sit there and probably secretly think like, how the fuck haven't you lost everything? Probably some functioning alcoholics and drug addicts and shit are like, I've lost my wife, I lost my job, my kids don't want to talk to me anymore, I'm a social pariah, my family's abandoned me, extended family. Yet here's Bert Kreicher on a treadmill drinking box wine, right? Waking up and having a martini, like indulging himself in all the foods, pretending to do Sober October, all these nonsense things, right? And he's completely fine. Somehow he's completely fine and still alive. Everything's going great. I'm sure those guys exist, and I think he's maybe absorbing that energy and maybe trying to cope and make it seem like he's kind of buying into it also. But I think he notices it and feels the vibes coming from him when people are listening to his Bertcast podcast or listening to Your Mum's House or Two Beds One Cave. I'm pretty sure he feels that vibe of people thinking, how's he alive and I'm on the brink, I'm on a flipping ventilator. Here I am watching him on my iPad in the hospital because I've had too many drinks, and my doctor told me if I have another one I might die, right? but Kreicher's still alive. He's probably absorbing all of that. But big up Louis CK, absolute legend. You are a legend. You are an absolute legend. But anyway, that's me. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. I do appreciate every single one of you. Episode number 77 of The Random Show. We are finished. We are over. We are out. Big up the entirety of the chat who've been here slogging it out for me for nearly 4 hours of me talking absolute crap. I do appreciate every single one of you. Big up Andrew. Big up Dark Web J. Kevin. Big up Uche. Big up Yoshi. Big up Chris Lucas. Big up TV Huck. Big up Kevin. Big up Sleeping Buddha. Many people here. Big up Severa Design. Who else is in the chat? I can see here DBA Dave. So many people. Big up MKR CIVOJ, however you pronounce your name. I apologize. Eddie D. Every single one of you guys that tuned in. Space Kai, of course. Big up all of you. Appreciate every single one of you that joined in as per usual. It's been an absolute honor to entertain you for these last few hours and whatnot. And hopefully you guys have receive something from it also. Not loads, of course, not my schlong or anything along that kind of line, right? Not none that kind of base level disgusting humor, of course not. Just nice adult fun, consensual fun, and no screen recordings included here. Just some good guys just hanging out, guys and girls and everyone else in between. Big up every single one of you. I appreciate you all, and I'll see you again very, very soon. I need to do more of these and not be taking too many big breaks. So big up everybody. Dark Web Jerry, of course, big up you too. Big up every single one of you. I appreciate you all. I appreciate you all. Much love, much love. Big up MK as well. Okay, I'll keep that in mind, MK. Big up you guys. Much love. Take care. Peace, man. Enjoy the rest of your days, and I'll see you guys again very soon. Oh yeah, timestamps and clips will be up very soon. I'll put the Discord link in the chat as well. Sorry, in the description. So if you're gonna join the Discord, join it, join us, and be friends. So let's hang out. See you again soon. Peace.